welcome back to Bad Movies Rule, the worst movie podcast ever recorded. And today we're driving a turbo interceptor straight to hell, and Charlie Sheen is riding shotgun. We're talking about The Wraith.
I don't know if he came from hell.
It was more like a ray gun, not a shotgun.
And
I said he's riding shotgun.
Oh,
I think he's driving, wasn't he?
he was. It's
It's a little unclear.
shotgun with us, not in the movie.
It's a little unclear how all that worked in the movie.
Everything is unclear about what happened in this movie. We're going to get into it. So we're talking about 1986's The Wraith. And today we've got Mr. Clint Bush in the house. How are you, Clint?
I'm doing fantastic. We're having a good time.
Yeah, man.
Got to talk about a cinematic gem here.
Gem.
This is one of your favorite movies.
I would have picked this in
This
the
could
draft
be-
if I had ever considered it as a bad movie, but I didn't.
Yeah, so we actually had, I thought for when I was going through this, like, oh, this must have been a Clint pick. But then I had like at least 20 listeners, whether it was on thisshowistrash@gmail.com or TikTok or wherever. So, oh, you got to do The Wraith. You got to do The Wraith. And so finally I'm like, all right, fine. We'll do The Wraith.
It was all me.
Well, the listeners were wise. It's a good movie to watch.
All right. All right. And that's, as you heard, Mr. Charles Hewitt. Charles, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Is this your helmet that you brought
This is
in?
my helmet. I used to ride a motorcycle, and then I realized they're deadly, so now I drive a convertible, but I still have the helmet because I can't get rid of stuff, as my garage and house will
Yeah,
show.
but now it makes a sweet prop for our
Yes, it's a prop because
YouTube audience.
I'll get to that. It was one of my things in the movie.
Okay.
He says this movie's a gem, and I'm thinking, I wonder if you polished it enough, you might realize it's actually a turd. It's unpolished.
Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as we found out on
some of
this
them
show.
polished turds look pretty good, I guess.
That's right.
I don't
I'm
know.
not looking to say that this is a great movie and that, it deserved all the awards. And
Yeah.
I'm saying it's entertaining as hell.
Okay. And
Yeah, I could go there, actually.
Hi.
what are you wearing, Bob?
Yeah, this
What?
is scary.
What?
We got us a.
Bob's over here in, what would you call this, in a negligee?
It's a. It's my lingerie
Lingerie.
to get you to do a Babe Award for now on.
Oh. Oh, what? So you think we need to add another award to the show?
We need to add.
This is this is an '80s movie from the mid '80s. Is appropriate to discuss the inappropriateness of a Babe Award.
There's nothing inappropriate about a Babe Award.
Well,
if you want,
we'll
we
give you
can
your
do-
chance.
We can do the Hot Babe Award. Or we can do the Ugly Chick Award, which we can call
no.
it the Shovel to the Face Award.
All right. Later on, I will give
Equality.
you equality.
That way, the ugly girls on the internet don't get mad.
That way, no girls can complain. He's got both sides.
I got both sides covered. I thought about this last
I
night.
just want to go on record. I disavow this, Melissa, my lovely wife, who I love very much.
There's nothing wrong. I love my wife very much, but I like hot babes.
Later on, I will give you an opportunity to pitch for the award,
I'm
but I'm
pitching
not
right now.
promising anything.
All right,
You-
all right.
well,
He's starting
all right,
hard on
let's go.
this award pitch.
As you heard, Bob is finally back. Bob, first time since Escape from LA?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes,
welcome
sir.
back, dude. How you been?
I escaped my house to be on this podcast.
Well, we're all happy you're here. I mean, mostly
Apparently,
everybody except for the people that
He
don't like
didn't have time to change out of his sleepwear.
Hey, what's wrong with this sleep?
you. This is what you sleep in?
I couldn't tell you what I slept in.
Oh, well, okay. Hopefully you remember.
I think he just said enough.
I don't remember.
Thanks to everybody who's watching us on YouTube. If you could drop a like on this, it helps the algorithm. It helps us know that you guys like this kind of stuff and gets us pushed out to more people. And, click the subscribe button and all the stuff I'm contractually obligated to say for a YouTube video. Thank you. For those of you who are listening, we appreciate For those of you who are listening, we appreciate that you're here. Could you do us a favor? Could you, whatever streaming app you're using, if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you could drop us a review, a 5-star review really helps us get pushed out to more people. It'd be great if you could share us with a friend. Word of mouth is the best thing for a podcast. And you guys are the reason we do it. We love that you're back here again for yet another episode. All of our links, you go to the show notes where you can find us and interact with us, whether that's on Facebook, or our Patreon, where we've got all kinds of bonus content. We're raising money to put together a studio. We're also got our email address on the show notes. It's thisshowIstrash@gmail.com, which is where you can send your movie suggestions. Or if you just got movie-related questions you'd like us to address in one of our mailbag episodes, that is the place to do that. All right. So in case you're new, what we generally do is we start off with the vitals. We give you all the particulars about the movie, who directed it, who wrote it, what it's rated, all of that stuff. And then we give our general impressions, right? We talk about our history with the movie, how long ago we've saw it, what we think of it in an overall sense. And then we're going to walk through the plot by plot. And then at the end, throw some flowers at the thing, give it some awards, and see what the ultimate verdict is. So you're along for the ride. We appreciate that you're here. Okay, guys. The vitals. Who's ever heard of Mike Marvin before? Anybody?
Nope.
No, sir.
Mike Marvin is the guy that wrote and directed it. Okay. So same guy.
Passion project.
Good dude.
Yes, the dude.
I want to give him a one epic high five.
The man.
So I looked through his IMDb, and it's pretty much just B-movie trash, the whole thing.
Perfect.
Yes.
So this definitely seemed like the pinnacle for him when you look at the overall quality of movies that he had done. Who was the guy that played the police captain in Tango and Cash?
The police captain.
The one that he tried to attack with a duck through the screen door.
Oh God. Jeez Louise.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he was in Double Impact. He was in
Maverick. He was the bank guy that had the money clipped to his tie. You don't have to look up his name, but he did a movie. He did a movie with Mike Marvin where he was a homeless guy who was also a genie. Okay,
Genie homeless guy.
Wow.
yeah,
I
and
thought genies had to have lamp homes.
I don't.
Maybe
Again,
his lamp was lost.
the only reason I bring this up is because it was like a couple of years after this one, I think. The only reason I bring this up is because it was a couple of years after this one, I think, and it had a 2.2
Ooh, that's not good.
on IMDb.
So
That's
you
smashing it. What was this one?
Like 5 point something, right?
This one is a 5.9 currently
Awesome.
on IMDb.
why is
So-
it not at a 7?
So was Air America when we
when we talked
did
about
it.
it? Yeah.
Now it's a 5.8. So let's see if we can have a similar impact.
So your actor, the American I'm here. Jeffrey Lewis.
Jeffrey Lewis was his name. All right. So the movie starred Charlie Sheen in 1986 on his way to make Platoon, sort of. Nick Cassavetes, Sherilyn Fenn, and Randy Quaid.
I love Randy Quaid.
Love
Yeah,
Cheryl
who doesn't
Fenn.
like
God bless
who
her.
doesn't like Randy
He
Quaid?
kind of went off the reservation here later in his life. But,
Yes,
But great guy.
Certainly.
Great actor. Like
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
he was actually coming off of Saturday Night Live. He might have still been in the cast in
Was he in Saturday
1986
Night Live?
for one season.
Really? I didn't.
And it was either 85 or 86. It was like right around this time.
Why did he leave
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live?
Because he's crazy?
He just wasn't it wasn't the right fit for him. They did this thing where they had it was in the interim right before Lorne Michaels was going to come back, and they were stacking it with names instead of unknowns like they used to do. And a lot of those guys left after one season, like Chris Guest and Martin Short and all those guys.
Gotcha.
Robert Downey Jr.
That's right. I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
So the movie had a budget of $2.7 million, which I was surprised
That's
to
big.
hear. And
That's not much.
no, in relation to most movies, no, but like we've done movies that are under $1 million, like in the 100,000s, that
saying-
looked better than this one did.
Okay. Very fair, I guess, yeah.
Chrysler had to have a big part in this.
I was going to say, Chrysler,
They put up some
they
cars.
had
funded
to
some
have, yeah.
money on
It
this.
did make its
This
money
was
back
a-
worldwide.
The box office was $3.4 million.
Yeah, did make all its money back and some change.
Yeah, but it didn't though, because you got to always remember to cut that in half because the theater gets half.
Do you think
Okay.
mini theaters showed this movie?
They had to
Only
have.
88 theaters
Right?
showed it, I think.
So if that's half, you're talking about 1.7 million.
So we know why there wasn't a sequel.
Yes, we do.
Oh, everybody was dead.
Yeah.
Well, no, they weren't, sort of. We don't know. It's confusing. Well, the bad guys.
It's not confusing. It's pretty clear.
So as far as its bona fides for being a bad movie, it's under 6 on IMDb. It's currently 36% on Rotten Tomatoes, so
That's
critics
rough, yeah.
aren't a fan. But this is a running theme. The last 3 movies that we've done, I think, had like a 64% audience score, and
Really?
so did this one. So 2/3 of the people that at least went on there and rated it liked it.
Okay,
So
that surprises me a little.
I
God
think
bless
that
you, people.
you've definitely got a group of people who will seek out this movie and are like, dude, this thing was great. There's idiots like me in the world who absolutely adore some of this trash. Just like there's people who like Ernest movies for some reason that we cannot explain. There's
there are
pockets
crazy
of
people like that. Yeah.
who will just go out, and that's probably the majority of who's voting.
Speaking of
these
Ernest,
days.
I saw a picture of Jim Varney on Reddit the other day sitting in a DeLorean Turbo.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He looked really cool.
I miss Jim Varney.
I know.
I
That's
mean,
what everyone said. They were like, "Oh, it's sad."
The earnest stuff aside, just a good dude and a funny guy, and I just wish he was still around. But Charles, let's start with you because you said you'd watched this movie before.
I had.
Okay.
I was trying to remember what the context of watching this was. So this was on my own initiative, not because I do a podcast occasionally where people ask me to watch movies that I would normally watch. I'm thinking every once in a while I get in these moods where I like, what's it like great car movies or airplane movies? And so maybe it was one of those, and
you couldn't find one, so you landed here.
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking I searched Google, and whether you like or don't like it led me astray or it led me to the right place. I came across this movie. I think that's supposed to be how it came.
Sure.
Or maybe I'm just scrolling through Netflix, right?
Yeah.
So I watched it. I don't remember if I finished it. By the time I got to the end of the movie this time around last night, I'm like, I don't remember if I saw the total movie before.
Right.
But I remember the movie, and I remember the general plot. And
so what are your thoughts on it, just in a general sense?
So I'm gonna quote another movie. I think it's a movie called Once Upon a Crime. And the answer is, how do you do that voodoo that you do so well? And I like that quote for this because I enjoyed this movie, but it's like magical how I enjoyed it because it's a piece of crap. But it's fun. Like they put a hex on me or voodoo or something. The directors are somewhere doing voodoo magic to make people like this movie. Because when you think about it, the more I've thought about it since I finished it last night, I'm going, there's a lot of issues with this, but it's enjoyable.
So to you, it's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yes, but I'm not sure by how much. Like, but I watched it on my own initiative and remember at least watching most of it. And going, it was pretty entertaining, and then watching it again last night, I enjoyed it.
All right. Awesome. Clint, were you a kid when you saw this?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not
when I say
super
a kid, I'm not talking about but you know what I mean? Yeah.
Preteen probably.
Yeah.
When we first saw this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is one of the ones that your dad brought into the house because I remember you saying if your dad didn't bring it in, it wasn't happening.
This was rented multiple times. Yeah. We paid late fees on this thing.
Why on earth would your dad like this movie?
Maybe it spoke to his inner misogynist. I really don't know.
That's not what I meant, but
no, I'm kidding. But no, there's tons of good stuff. As a car guy in general, my dad was a car guy, motorcycle guy. There's some action in it. It was the love story. I'm pretty sure my dad.
Is that what it was?
My
He's a
dad
sucker?
is a sucker for a sappy love story.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So was this the first time you'd seen it in a while, or had you already been regularly watching it?
No, I probably haven't watched it in about 10 years, but we sat down and my wife's like, what are we watching today? And I was like, The Wraith. She's like, what's that? Like, you've seen it before. You've watched this with me like probably 5 times.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't remember it. And as soon as it came on first, I was like, oh, this movie. So, yes.
Okay. Did she stay through the whole thing?
She
right.
watched it with me.
See? It passed the Kelly test.
Kate did not.
Oh, well what are you going to do?
You know.
She wouldn't, yeah. Bob, is this the first time ever seen The Wraith?
Absolutely.
What are your overall impressions, man?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. It had everything I wanted.
Everything?
Yeah. Babes, fries, and buns.
And cars?
And cars. The cars was the last
Is that the
thing.
ranking? Is that the order in which?
Babes, buns, and fries. Or babes, fries, and buns.
Okay.
I don't know. It depends on the mood, I guess. But,
I guess.
But yeah.
So overall, you're happy with it?
Yeah, overall, I'm happy with it.
Okay. And I'm not going to say I hate it. So, sorry.
I mean, Clint Howard did have the best hair.
Clint Howard.
Yeah, so Clint Howard, Ron Howard's little brother, who this is like one of the bigger parts he played because usually he's like the one scene cameo guy.
I didn't know he was a fat guy.
But as soon as I saw the hair, I was like, oh, he looks like that dude from Eraserhead, which was that.
Apparently that's what they were going for.
Yeah, but then that's exactly what. And then I read up afterwards and I was like, oh, well, that's why. Yeah. Don't watch Eraserhead, by the way. That's, what's that, David Lynch, I think?
I don't know.
It's a really messed up movie, which I think he did. It's messed up on purpose, but I couldn't even get through it. For me, guys, I don't know. I'd say there are certainly enjoyable elements to the movie. It's just so half baked and bare bones to me. Do you know what I mean? Like there's the core concept and just very little is done to flesh it out beyond that, right? And so I ended up with tons of questions.
There's a lot of questions.
But there are moments that are enjoyable. In fact,
I was thinking about this movie and I was going, they're so blatant with some things, you miss it.
Yeah. Right.
Like the whole
what
brother
questions?
thing.
Like the brother thing. Yeah.
I can't tell you my idea on that, but legitimately, I mean, I knew it obviously going in.
Yeah.
Watching it in, you look back at my memory, I don't remember the first time I watched this movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? It wasn't that kind of impact. So, like, to me personally, having known that going through and looking at it, I could see it all the way across. You know, you could see it early.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah, but
I
it's
can't. I couldn't imagine seeing it for the first time now, and what would my reaction be to it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to quantify.
and there's just a fundamental thing that doesn't make sense about that.
Well, there's all kinds. Yeah.
but maybe we should get into it as we get into the
No,
plot
no, we
more.
will. Yeah, that's fine. I just feel like it was like a second draft, and there needed to be like one more guy to come in and like just fill some stuff out.
Yes.
And they just were like,
Well, they filled
it's
some
good
stuff
enough.
out,
Let's. Some
Yes,
people
they
filled
did.
out things beautifully.
Yes, they did.
The author,
Well, maybe that's
know.
what happens when the
Yeah.
screenwriter directs it.
Right.
You don't have that.
the next guy
That next.
to do a
Sis,
pass on
you know.
it. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
it was covered up with a great 80s soundtrack, Cars.
The soundtrack is fantastic. I mean, the music was great, and that might be what they spent. I mean, 2.7 million. You think, okay, Charlie Sheen cost 2.5 million of that.
Not that.
They were definitely polishing
I mean,
a turd with all these other stuff.
I don't know. He literally, this was a pit stop on his way to go shoot
Yes,
Platoon.
That
He
was
was
a fascinating story.
on his way to go shoot Platoon.
and Oliver Stone was pissed at him for making this movie. He's like,
Yes.
"You're going to ruin Platoon because
Right.
you made this movie."
People are going to see this and not want to see my movie.
I don't think it's that bad. I think The Wraith is a good B movie.
Well, obviously, it didn't go on to ruin Charlie Sheen's
No, it didn't.
career.
He did that himself.
I didn't know Charlie. This is the cool thing is like I didn't know Charlie Sheen was in this movie.
Yeah.
and he was actually really good in the movie.
This was the same year as Ferris Bueller, so he looks just like he rolled off that bench.
He literally he rolled off the set of Ferris Bueller right onto the set of Wraith right before he got on the helicopter
to go shoot
to go to
Platoon.
Nam.
That's right.
And I'm wondering, did they make us stop on the Top Gun set to get the opening scene of him on the motorcycle with the shirt open in the aviators?
Yeah, I don't know. That was the same year that all came out.
My wife said they're totally picking on Top Gun.
That's Tiger.
But here's the thing: that came out in the summer of '86, which is the same year this was released.
Right.
They would have had to have shot it
Yeah.
before. So
Maybe they were on the same film set, and they're like, he's like, "Oh, Tom Cruise
Yeah.
looks cool."
That's
like
just
I don't know.
what you looked like in the 80s. You're thinking it's something that they're doing. That was just it.
yeah,
Charlie Sheen has Tiger blood.
he does. This dude,
I love Charlie Sheen.
this. Let me say this one thing. I don't want to before and we'll get into the plot. There's one thing I got to bring up, and you probably know about this, Charles, because it looks like you read through it. But supposedly, and I have to challenge this, but supposedly Charlie Sheen shot all of his scenes in one day.
That's what they said. He's
That-
only in it 30 minutes.
There's not that
total.
much scenes.
the,
he's
the,
in.
the reason that they shot the Wraith as like a dude in a jumpsuit with a helmet is because they only got Charlie for a very short amount of time.
Okay.
But there's still a lot. I'm looking through this. I'm like, there's day setups, there's night setups, there's different costumes, there's chases that those take a long time to film.
Water scenes he's got to dry off from.
That's what I'm saying.
There's
So
one scene, I think it's in the end, where he kisses her and it's totally a different person. There's a couple scenes
Yeah.
towards the end of the movie where you're like,
It's a double.
I don't think that's Charlie.
or it's probably
There's
the actor
somebody
that played
else.
Jamie.
right, it could be, but I'm just saying, which he had the same haircut as.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
And yeah,
I mean, if that was, then that's first of
I
all,
mean, if you start at midnight, if you start at 11 o'clock the night
Yeah.
before and go all the way to midnight, you could possibly you can
it's
do
not.
all
I mean,
those.
it's possible, but my God, could you imagine how hard that would be
Yeah.
to shoot all
That'd be-
of that?
That'd be a pain. And make
in
sure
one
everything is
day.
right.
Yeah.
If something's
Explain why-
wrong, you got to go back and redo it.
And so
again.
kudos. I mean, if they pulled that off, kudos to them. That's impressive. As a guy who's made movies, I'm just sitting there going, how?
it could explain that maybe the last scene they filmed was the really important scene with him talking to her really deadpan
Yeah.
at the end, towards the end.
Yeah. Well, we'll
Have
get.
courage.
Yeah, we'll get
Like,
to
He was
that
sleepy because it's been a long day.
because it's been a super long day.
He's like, I got to get to Oliver Stone's set, people.
So that's what's saying. When I said it's a pit stop on the way to Platoon, he literally stopped here for a day on the way to go shoot Platoon
Oh, Mike, Marvin, I like you, but you're no Oliver Stone.
and shot this movie.
I would do this movie over Oliver Stone.
Crazy. All right, well, let's get into it, guys. So the movie starts in a very, let's say, mystical and magical way, right? There's like, coming from somebody who's never seen it, I know you guys all knew what it was, but I'm just sitting here like, okay, why are there fairies flying around? Why do they hate street signs so much, right? They're blowing
they
through
melted
billboards
down.
and they're melting signs.
It blew through Sheriff Loomis's face.
That's what I'm saying. There's like these 4 bulbs of light basically flying around, and then but they all come together at the desert crossroads and form this turbo interceptor.
Yeah.
and the Wraith is basically this like dude look like in a jumpsuit.
An exoskeleton.
So why you're asking?
Yeah, which looks like he looks like he's from space, right?
Kind of,
yeah, kind of, yeah.
So what you were trying to ask is how did 4 beaming lights make one sexy car and one sexy car?
That's exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one of about 47 questions that I
a
have.
very average dual sport
Was
motorcycle.
the Wraith?
Yeah. What's up with that motorcycle? Why didn't they help him out? They gave him a super cool car and a wimpy motorcycle.
I dug the outfit.
Like, hey, Marvin,
outfit was cool.
The outfit was
Can we get
cool.
a better motorcycle? No, dude, we're 2.69 million. We can't afford to rent anything else.
You're so invested in this movie. This car has to be used.
So
Somebody on that set in the 80s owned a cooler motorcycle than that.
There was
It was in the
coolers,
parking lot.
motorcyles,
Right.
and the
This was some
right.
This is one of the director's kids'
K's
child fun.
Big
Like
Burger
this
or whatever.
college
well, that's what
fun.
I'm saying. That like the electrician on set probably had a better bike. He could have been. You guys want to use my bike?
Right.
His kid wanted one of these so bad.
That's right.
You know what? It'll be just a leftover from the movie. We can write this off.
There you go.
Write this off as a tax break.
All right, so Clint, talk to me about the Turbo Interceptor because when I watched this, I thought, oh, they just built this for the movie, but was that a
No.
real car?
Well, you can see in scenes looking at it, it's a real car-ish.
Okay.
But you can definitely see in scenes, it is a fiberglass at the time. It wouldn't have been carbon fiber, but it's a fiberglass body shell. It's unfinished. There's no real interior in it aside from, seats, some gauges and stuff like that. But it was a concept car for Chrysler, and they actually did some high-speed run testing with it as well.
Oh, wow.
They took basically the Omni GLH, or there was several Daytona turbos in this 2.2 turbo motors.
Yeah.
And they just basically took that kind of drivetrain, threw it in the middle, and went after some aerodynamic.
And apparently, the engine beats like a heart and glows red.
Yeah,
That is not the actual engine compartment of the car.
that looked cool though.
Yeah, that was cool.
But I have to say, I think that was the most shocking thing in this movie is when I went on IMDb and the first trivia thing was this was a real car. I'm like, they're lying about that. And then I Google searched and it was absolutely true. And I was shocked.
It looks like something like you'd see at the car show that somebody just drove off the car show, like the futuristic model of here's the car of the future. And
I did
In the
notice
80s
it
it
had
was.
the
Yeah.
it had the Pentastar logo on it.
Yep.
I noticed that and I'm like, well, that's weird. Like I knew everything else was Chrysler, so they obviously bought the movie or paid for a bunch of stuff. But it actually was a real prototype, and it ran for real 194 miles an hour in like 81 is amazing.
Yeah, with the turbo 4-cylinder.
when you don't see it till the end when he gets closer to the Dodge emblazoned on the back of the thing, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
Anybody who looks at like the first shot, the front of it, the Pentastar logo is a dead giveaway. If you're a car guy, my first car we drove was an 88 Omni, so.
Right. Well, that's what. See, I'm not a car guy, so
Right.
it wasn't until the end when it said Dodge, and I was like, "Oh, well, if that thing was a Dodge, it never would have done all of this."
And there was
Well, that's why I was so amazed it was real.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I feel bad for Dodge that they couldn't make that work. That'd be awesome if we had Dodge mid-engine.
this
sports
movie
cars
was
right
full
now.
of Dodge. I mean, you had the
whole
CUDA
thing.
was
Yep.
a character down here.
Yeah.
You had so many diplomat cop cars. There were a bunch of Caprices in there too.
A bunch
because
of
budgets,
K-car
you know,
cop
they had
cars.
to be there. Yep.
All right. Well, have you ever owned a Dodge, Bob?
Pardon me?
Did you ever have a Dodge?
No, our dad had a Dodge. Oh, no, I never personally had a Dodge. Dad had a old Dodge truck that pissed,
and that
pissed
thing,
oil everywhere.
That thing could definitely rip through cop cars.
My wife
Yeah, that
had a
thing was
Dodge
awesome.
they called the demon car because it caused so much trouble.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. I think it might have been one of those in that movie.
They had to perform an exorcism on it.
Your sister had a sweet Chrysler LeBaron.
Oh,
yo.
she did. She had the
I do drive right now.
convertible.
2006 Chrysler 300C.
There you go.
I had a Ford Tempo,
Rusting away on its
That's
way.
much better than
I'm
the
gonna-
Turbo Interceptor.
but you couldn't fill it up past half a tank or it
I
was piss
hate-
gas everywhere.
Funny thing that you bring up a Ford Tempo, and this is a complete aside. There was one day, and I don't know why these words came out of my mouth, but it was probably about 3 years ago or so, maybe longer. But I saw a Tempo drive by, and this thing was like in showroom condition. I was like, that is one sweet Tempo. And I literally 3 seconds later, like,
What am I thinking?
You got to
F did
smack
I just
yourself.
say?
I will
'Cause
model
a
in this
Ford
outfit
Tempo
on a
is-
Ford
I
Tempo.
A
hate
perfect
the Ford
Tempo was
Tempo.
never a
No,
sweet car. It was just
never.
the fact that the condition was so minty. I was like,
was a great
oh my
car.
God, that's a sweet
Ford Tempo is
All right.
loathed
Sorry.
material.
0 to 60 in 3 years, buddy.
Still not
It
there.
was so ugly and horrible.
All right, so we got our space or hell or wherever this guy comes from. We'll find that out later. We'll try and flesh that out. He's standing there with this car. And then basically these, like, I don't know, rapey hillbilly car racers and one guy inexplicably dressed as a jock. It was so eclectic, the whole thing.
And what age are they supposed to be?
That's the other thing I don't know.
I thought high school initially, and I'm like, no, I don't think. I think they're young adults.
We'll call them road pirates because that's what the guy calls them.
Well, that's what they are.
That's
basically what they're doing.
Right? They basically look like they're rolling up on dudes and they corner them on the street and force them into a street race for pink slips.
Right, which is basically the title to your car for people not in California.
So it's like a way for like legal car theft.
Dominic Toretto would waste
right?
these guys.
Because
legal, it's coerce.
It's coerced, but you know what I mean. It's not like get out and we're just taking your car. They at least have this, the preface of we're going to race for it, even though if it's rigged or whatever.
Yeah, if you don't race us for this car, you're not going to want your girlfriend back.
Yeah, this is why I call them rapey hillbillies.
Yeah, they were really, that scene was disturbing.
That's how they got this guy who they just stopped on the side of the road. And I say it's the head of this rapey gang is called Packard. And then there's a bunch of his flunkies.
Skank and Gutter Boy and
I don't Augie
and
the guy that doesn't matter. Minty. Whatever.
Augie was the guy that did Augie was the guy that did all his clothes shopping at the kids' gap, right?
They were like every stereotype of bad kind of thuggish kids, right? Because you had the prep guy, Minty, and then
but then crazy, let's make him as annoying as possible.
Yes.
And why did they make Gutter Boy full retard?
I don't know.
I liked Gutter Boy.
Somebody's got to be drinking that stuff, man.
Well, that was Skank.
That was Skank.
Right.
Yeah.
Skank was drinking hydraulic fluid and snorting WD-40.
Yeah, WD-20. I didn't know
whatever it was.
WD-80 because it was the 80s. WD-80.
but
don't do huffing, kids. Service announcement.
It's bad for you.
But what Clint is saying is they basically grab this dude's girlfriend, they pull her off to the side. They got Skank like holding onto her and licking her face.
Yeah, he's really gross.
It's super gross. Like, all right, well, look, man, if you don't race, we're gonna use her up. Basically, is what they're saying.
They're bad guys.
And so they and he actually this random dude from the beginning of the movie almost beats Packard.
Random hot guy from a volleyball team.
You wouldn't think that's true, but if you've ever driven a Turbo 2.2 Daytona, or an early 80s Corvette, that Daytona would have smoked that Corvette.
Yes.
Those Corvettes
and
were among the turdiest turds ever as far as horsepower to weight ratio and like actual straight line performance.
Yeah.
Now, any reasonably modified version of it would have destroyed that K car. It wouldn't have even had a chance. So,
okay.
And it's super pathetic. They're all automatics. They should all be 5 speeds or 4 speeds back then.
Maybe these actors couldn't drive.
I think that's the
possible.
truth. Yes.
Yeah. So they end up with this guy's car, and he gets his girlfriend back, but it's just basically a setup to show who these guys are, how awful they are,
and what they do,
so we can see it later.
How they make their money and get these cool things.
Right.
They're bad guys.
So when we're introduced to Charlie Sheen next, Charlie Sheen, as you said earlier, it is aviators and a jean jacket with no shirt on.
Coming down a very bumpy road.
Sweet 80s soundtrack.
Rolls up in the kind of terrible dirt bike.
That scene or that road is shot several times. So obviously they had rights to that road for the time.
Yeah.
But legitimately, wouldn't you make a pass with the bulldozer before you lay down the pavement?
Yeah.
I mean, there's 3.5 foot tall bumps every 70 feet.
The first one he comes over, he goes absolutely out of sight.
Right.
My daughter was just in the room when I started, and she's like, why is that road so bumpy?
One slow pass with the bulldozer makes that a road.
Yeah, makes it a road. Charlie rolls up, and this is the first time we also see Carrie Johnson. This is basically there's a girl walking out of her house on the sidewalk on her stoop, and he pulls up in front of her.
And at this point, this is the best movie ever.
Well, what's funny to me is he has no shirt on, and she's only wearing a shirt.
It's like really long with a belt.
So I'm like, this is why he's trying to pick her up, because she's got a shirt and he doesn't. It's literally just a long shirt with a belt. Right. Like, that's it.
God bless America.
Weird outfit, man. Some of these 80s fashions aren't coming back, thankfully.
Bob's wearing one of them right now.
And he's trying to find out.
Supporting this.
What does he ask her if she knows where what is?
Hey, do you know how to get to the hot lake?
Was it the lake or the beach? I don't remember. But
was he actually asking where that was? Because that was
I don't know. But he asked her where something was, and she was all gonna just get straight up on the back of his
directions
bike.
I'm like, why is she so comfortable just hopping on the bikes with strangers?
Because her life revolves with Packard in it. So anything that's not him.
But literally as she's getting on, Packard shows up, and we realize that this is not his girlfriend, but this is Packard's unwilling captive.
Yeah.
Like he basically says, I own you and you're not allowed to do anything.
It's a relatively good description of an abusive relationship.
If you're not
afraid
my
to get
girl,
out
you
of.
won't be anybody's girl at some point, he says.
Right.
Something
So,
like that.
so she gets in Packard's car before she can go off with Charlie.
Right.
Okay. And they end up going to this like rock beach. It's like, I've never seen this before.
That looks really
It's
cool.
like at the
It's a
quarry.
river. It's not a beach, like a lake. It's like,
like
a
a-
river they're in.
It's a river in
Like
the
a
middle
river
of the
quarry
desert.
type area.
Yeah.
It's Arizona.
But they're all
Yeah.
laid up on their towels and their swimsuits like they would be at a beach, but they're all like on the rocks, like
Yep.
the girl from Winners Take All, right? Like, I'm like, oh, this must be a thing. We gave her such a hard time for lounging on a beach on a
Deborah
rock.
Richter?
Deborah Richter on a rock.
She was just missing the lake.
She was just missing the lake part of it. But this is what these teenagers. Maybe I don't know. Are they teenagers?
That's a good throwback.
Yeah.
Maybe Packard is like the manifestation of Carl because he's been waiting so long with his Corvette. He gets pissed off.
He turned into
Turns
Packard,
into-
or as I call him, Rapey McRaperstein.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. Or Stabby McStabby.
That guy's a pansy.
Nick Cassavetes plays Packard, and the only thing I can remember Nick Cassavetes from was the bald dude in Face Off.
Yeah, he's the bald dude at Face Off, and for film geeks, he directed The Notebook, that real crappy
Yes,
movie.
he did.
With
Thank
Ryan
you.
Gosling and Rachel McAdams.
That's the guy.
That's
Rapey
Packard.
McRaperstein directed
Rapey
the Notebook.
McRaperstein directed The Notebook. Just,
well, so he had a good insight.
yeah, he had a good insight. Very good insight.
Well, while they're at this rock beach, he's like, this is where we kind of get an idea of the sense of their dynamic, him and Carrie, because he's like, you're mine, I own you. But my question is, why isn't he more worried about where he's going to get more seashells choker necklaces from?
Well, Dolph Lundgren took all the noses.
Well, he does come up with another necklace later on.
I know.
So he's obviously going to the Arizona shops to pick that kind of stuff up. 'Cause they got a lot of that kind of stuff down there.
Nice choker, bro. Across the river, lounging on the other side, Charlie and his giant back scars are just chilling. And from a trope standpoint, hold on. This just kills me every time. Billy walks up and he's like, hey, did you want to know everything about those people and their whole backstory and my tragic background with my dead brother? Can we be friends? Like
As we're tanning our scars.
Every movie's got to have information guy. This is information guy.
he just doesn't know him from Adam.
And there's a point where Charlie Sheen's character looks like he's going to be upset at this and like kind of just dismissive and just go away because that's how you're thinking anyways.
Yes.
Like I'd be like, just get out of here, dork.
Right.
And then he's like, no, man, everybody's got, it's like, he just goes right into it. It's like, well,
He was oddly cool about it. We find out later because he
but
knew
that
who it
there,
was.
you know, you see all the scars and that kind of stuff there is right off the bat. But then when we catch the throwback later,
Yes.
I think that's where it's first obvious that your brain should be like, wait a minute.
Right. So we find out, some things that makes more sense. But ultimately, when he first comes up, I'm like, who does this? Right? Hey, how's it going? Hey, that guy over there, this guy, and he just start giving everybody's backstory to the main character, right?
It's an exposition dump.
No, I know, but it's so like
didn't have a
not.
TV
There's like no
news
finesse
story.
to it at all.
That's why it's awesome.
And I
that
like how
it
he
made me
says,
laugh.
if you're going to look at her, you got to wear dark glasses. And he's but then the guy sees them looking at her anyway. So
Right.
it was bad advice.
Right, because it's the same time as Billy, who's Charlie's new best friend, telling him everybody's backstory, is talking about his brother who was tragically killed and how they don't know who it is. At the same time, it cuts to Packard, who right then appears to be daydreaming about the time
Yes.
he cut up Billy's brother.
Is that when that flashback
That's
is?
right then.
Oh, so it's my wife asked me. She's like, "Is that Charlie Sheen?" I'm like, "No, that's the brother that got killed." But I'm so dense because it's so blatant. I
Yes.
can't put it together in my mind that this is
That's-
actually his brother somehow.
Yes.
What's wrong with me? Is it because it's 9
just-
o'clock at night and Sunday has been a long day, or what? I
But
don't know.
Packard is just literally laying on the beach daydreaming about a time he murdered a dude.
Yeah, not only murdered him, sliced him and
Well, that's
diced
the
him,
thing.
and all of his buddies with him.
Yeah.
We're obviously have some kind of otherworldly thing here. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's the character. It's like, man, he's recognizing this guy. It's like, could
It could be.
Maybe it's him.
He
kind
did
of.
say when they first met, he looks familiar.
Yeah.
I didn't get much out of it other than boobs and in the red light.
I mean,
Did you get that it was Charlie Sheen was the brother that got killed?
Yeah, I got that part
Because-
and I had the same question that everyone else asked. I'm like, okay, so obviously this is Charlie Sheen,
Yeah.
but it's
Not
doesn't-
Charlie Sheen.
the actor's not him.
I
So
think-
why is this?
Yeah.
So and it got answered.
Yes.
In a very
it doesn't get
weird.
answered.
It does in a way.
It does an hour later.
It does and it doesn't. He doesn't go into full description
Yeah.
of why it happened, but he just gives a little like, oh yeah, by the way, this yeah.
The movie's trying to let you know almost immediately because they show you the back scars and then they literally show this flashback of Cassavetes' character Packard slicing up this dude. And so even though you don't understand it, you're supposed to, I think, make that connection kind of right away.
Yeah.
Oh, this is somehow a reincarnation of the brother that got killed, but he looks like Charlie Sheen now.
Because no other bodies were available.
Right. And the Charlie Sheen at the end, like I'm going to skip to the end
Yeah.
here. He legitimately is like, hey, who are you, bro? You said it, man.
Right.
Charlie Sheen tells him
Yes.
right then. He just
Right.
still doesn't get it.
And then he says
until
bro like 4 more
3 minutes
times.
later.
Right.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, it's so blatant, but I missed it, and I don't know if
Yeah.
that's good or bad.
I don't know. I don't think it matters with this movie.
Yeah, turn off
doesn't.
to be. You got to turn off your brain. This is a turn
And
off your brain.
I think the
film.
other problem was I didn't make the and I'd seen this before. Obviously, it didn't leave a huge impression, but I didn't make the connection that the Wraith was killing these guys because of that murder either
Yes.
until later.
Oh, yeah, that's the whole reason he showed up.
But they start killing people that you don't see in that flashback very clearly.
Right. Well, that's the problem
Well,
is it's
that's
not
the whole gang.
shot well or executed at
Yes.
all. Well, speaking of the gang, at this point, the rest of the rapey boys show up, Skank and Gutter Boy and all them. And first of all, Skank, okay, I'm going to talk about him for a second. This dude wears more eye makeup than Ariana Grande, okay? At one point, he's got like this thing where it looked like he just put a plastic spoon over his eye and then like covered it in paint and wiped it off. I mean, every scene he's done, he's got more and more makeup and more intricate things that he's doing.
That is true.
But he can't tie his shoes. Okay, but he can spend 6 hours doing makeup every morning.
Ariana Grande was inspired by this movie.
That's where she got her look from?
Absolutely,
From
100%.
Skank.
From Skank.
And basically Packard's like, see this dude checking out my girl at the rock beach? You guys,
Keep
yeah,
an
he looks
eye
like a
on him.
dork. Keep an eye on him or take him out or whatever, okay?
And that's like the 5th time he uses a switchblade.
Let me tell you something. If-
they love to take it out.
If-
I have.
Oh, do you have a switchblade? Oh.
Nice.
Out the front automatic, not his wimpy flip out.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
switchblade.
That is the wimpiest switchblade, and if I was his friend,
Mine's kind of cheap.
if I was Packard's friend and he did that to me, I would slap him upside the head.
Seriously.
I would literally just be like, "You do that one more time, I'm shoving that up both ends."
He likes to pull it on his own dudes.
Yeah, he's like, "You're
And it doesn't even look very sharp.
You're
No.
upset. You're pissing me off. Do that one more time, Packard. I'm gonna pack you like you've never been packed before."
So while Packard's talking to Skank and Gutter Boy, we see Charlie pushes his raft up by Carrie's raft, who's now in the river. Okay,
Yeah, of
and he
course.
basically just like
Very
comes
wonderful
up to
shot.
talk to her. Right? He's like, "Hey, what's up, girl?" And this girl
girl.
reads her lines like they're written on the rock behind Charlie. Okay, just straight, or they're in the inside of her eyelids. I don't know, but it's just like some of the worst line readings I've ever heard. And he's like, maybe, we could hook up sometime or whatever. And she's like, yeah, that'd be great. And they say goodbye. Okay. But then they have to do that awkward thing where they say goodbye and they paddle back in the same direction.
Right.
Have you ever had to do that?
Yes. Well, it's hilarious. He has to like go first because it's really narrow and he's
Right.
like paddling and the bad guy's looking at him like, oh, what's happening there?
Now they're
I
still
hate that.
hanging out together. She wants to get out of the situation because, like, oh, we shouldn't be with each other. And
Right.
you're like, hey, well, let's go together back towards him.
Like, man, this is actually kind of hard going up
Right.
this stream.
That's awkward. You ever have to say goodbye to someone and then you walk to your cars and it's like next to each other?
It's the Wisconsin goodbye.
Is that what it
It's
is?
the Wisconsin goodbye.
The other thing that's interesting is they filmed this movie in the winter. And there's a scene, I don't know if but you can see their breath.
I was going to ask about this. I'm like, okay, so there's palm trees and cactus, but you can see their breath when they
Well,
talk
dude,
at
it
one
gets
point.
cold.
So
Tucson
It
gets
does.
chilly
It
in
gets
the winter.
cold.
it's in Arizona. Is that where they shot
It's
it?
totally Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
It's where I went and hurt my knee a few months ago.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's a beautiful area.
Okay.
And those saguaro cactuses, those big cactuses,
Yeah.
give that away because that's one of the few places they are. And I had some
Oh.
interesting history on saguaro cactus, but nonetheless,
Okay. Of course you
it
do.
must have been
this
cold.
guy.
Charlie Sheen says how cold it is, the water, and it must have been pretty chilly
Right.
because
Really? I would assume it's
It
just
was-
always a cooker down there.
No, in the summer. I mean,
Did they get
we're
snow?
talking.
Well, they might not get snow there.
I don't know when they shot, though.
Winter would probably be 40s.
Okay.
So yes, and
right.
maybe it
I
gets
went-
freezing every once in a while.
I went to the Winter Nationals a couple of years ago, and we stayed in Kingman, Arizona. It was cold as balls. Like I woke up, it was
Really?
32 degrees outside.
Yeah,
It was
Dang.
just above
like
freezing.
Flagstaff's very high. It's like 7,000-8,000 feet. So
Oh, okay. See?
Tucson's not.
Learning all kinds of things about Arizona. See, you think you tune in for our dumb commentary, but here you are learning stuff on bad movies rule.
was big.
You're welcome.
Do you want to know some mission history in Saguaro Cactus?
Maybe for the Patreon customers,
Okay.
we could do on our bonus recording.
All right, I can do that for you.
That'd be awesome.
I just learned a whole bunch about them because
Listeners,
I
if
have
you
one in
too
my
wanted
house
to
right
learn
now.
about cactuses,
If you
I'm
want to
hoping
know,
my
just
cactus will
$3
live.
a month.
So just give you this one tip. They can live like 100, 200, 300 years. And
Okay.
I'm hoping the one I bought at the store at the zoo we went to will be generational, can pass down to the generation.
that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah.
It cuts to Big K's Burgers. And so this is our first time in the movie where we see this location that we're going to go to many times. It's like a drive-up
I smell
burger
toast.
place.
Am I having a stroke?
no, they're burning coffee.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to go there after this episode if you guys want to go grab something to eat.
Yeah, it's like
That
that
looks like
did
the
look like
place
a
to be,
legit
dude.
place.
Oh, it's like Hooters, but a drive-up
That's
burger
what my wife
place.
said. She
Yeah.
was not happy about the objectification of women in this
Dude,
movie.
it's a
But all
car hop
those
in the
women
80s.
signed up to work there. I'm assuming no one was coerced.
and they
Those
like to
women
dance
were
in them
gladly
skimpy
compensated.
And they were fairly compensated for their
I
efforts.
mean,
This is why
you're
we
gonna
need 2
get
awards.
here's your first letter from my wife. It's coming right now.
Oh my God! We should punish all the hot girls in the world for being hot. Sorry for your hotness. Sorry. Oh my God. Oh, we should not have hot girls.
All right, so
I don't think it's the issue of hot girls.
Ban them for having good-looking bodies, Lord.
all right.
Smite them, Almighty Smiter.
Okay, all right, so we're in
Somebody's in the middle of a friggin' work call downstairs.
Billy works here. We find at the burger place, the guy that was telling everybody's backstory, and tries to drive Carrie home, who also works there. So this is Billy and Carrie's connection. Okay?
Cool Spitfire he drives, Triumph.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And he's going to take her home, but then Packard shows up in his car, and because he sucks and he's the worst human being ever, he's like, you're going to try and take Billy's car just for trying to give her a ride home.
Right.
Yeah. He's a bad guy.
Hey, what do you think we can get for this thing?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, don't
much.
take Billy's car.
It's also not very reliable because it can't get it started.
Well, it's English.
yes.
I was
The
having
Lucas Electronics in it.
that's
It must
true.
have been
Yes.
slightly cloudy
yes,
that day.
Yes, that's right.
I was having like a visceral reaction. I really one of the things that was very effective about this movie is portraying Packard in such a way that made me hate his
You
guts
hate that guy. Like,
for sure.
this movie is fantastic for that ride alone. You hate him, you hate him, you hate him. He keeps
Yes.
getting away with it, skirting it. He's not. And then at the end, you get your payoff.
Yeah, and so this is when the first time the Wraith shows up is right as he doesn't get to take Billy's car
Right.
because the Turbo Interceptor rolls in and past and down the road, and all of the rapey gang is like, "Whoa, let's go, let's get after it, right?
Yeah. Now we got prep boys. Like, let me take
Well,
it.
Augie was first.
Oh, that's right.
And this is right after Augie calls Billy the F word we're not allowed to use anymore.
Right.
And like the derogatory, term. And I'm like, this guy sucks. He might even be worse than Packard. And he goes, it's my turn. Let me race him. The funny thing to me is talking about how it's being bare bones and nothing's set up and it's so streamlined is that they roll down the street and the Interceptor's just sitting there on the road.
Yeah.
And they just pull up the car next to it and they're like, you want to race? Okay, it's a race now. Like, and then Clint Howard is out there with this thing. Like, did this guy agree to be in a race? You're just like, now he's in a race.
He did the 2 revs.
He knows.
Oh, he did the 2 reps.
You lose the race, you lose your car.
Right. I'm like, okay.
And your soul.
Apparently. And so here's the other problem I have with the Wraith. Every time he races somebody, I don't want to give away too much for the later races. We'll talk about those. But just in general, every time he races somebody, it's the same tactic. And it goes the same every time.
Right.
Neck and neck for a while. And then he suddenly just blows past them.
Yep.
Only to make him crash into him later. I'm like, why not just blow them off the start? Like, why? I guess he's toying with them or what?
Do what to him?
Blow them away from the start.
Oh, blow them away. Gotcha.
Blow them off the line.
I
thought you said something else.
I don't understand the whole self-immolation destruction thing he does.
Yeah.
Like, that seems odd as a way to...
Like parking his car and then
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Why don't you just run him off? I mean, why you got to kill yourself as well as everybody
So
else?
what happens is Augie and him race for a while. The Wraith takes off and eventually pulls way out ahead and then comes around a corner and the Wraith is sitting perpendicular now across the lane, which he gets T-boned then purposely.
Yes.
Augie T-bones him in fiery explosion off a cliff.
Off the cliff.
Awesome.
Burns. Yeah.
That was a great shot.
Good
Very
effects.
stuff.
You know, they launched
was
a car off. It wasn't.
There was a lot of fire.
The straight axle that's bouncing away from this wreckage was neither of the cars that were involved, but it's still fantastic. They lofted a car on fire.
But then the crappiest cops in the world show up, okay? And I say that because I immediately hated them because I'm like, this rapey gang has been able to operate with impunity and take people's cars, and they've done nothing to stop them.
Well, I think it's funny when they're racing that the cops are parallel parked, both standing in their doors, like waiting for a group of guys to come by, and they hop in and take off.
Right.
Were they just on break, hanging out?
There's only like 4 roads, you know. You go out into the desert, there's not a ton of roads.
Well, Randy Quaid's the lieutenant, so you can get away with anything.
Yeah, and Randy Quaid. So, but before
actually
I get to the sheriff.
But he says lieutenant.
I know,
though.
but he's a sheriff.
I'm a
I don't know.
lieutenant.
He's an idiot.
Before we get to that, I do want to mention what Charles said. So the thing with the Wraith, after he blows up whoever is chasing him, they find your body
Yes.
perfectly fine, like preserved. It's not
Yeah,
burnt
what was
up or
that line?
anything.
It's like he just came out of a hot tub. I'm like, what does that mean?
I don't know, but your
Because
eyeballs
he
are
didn't
gone.
have anything but his boxers on.
Right.
Oh.
But your eyeballs are gone.
Yeah, your eyeballs are burned
Yeah,
out.
basically sucked your life force out.
I must have
Time.
missed
But like
that.
you should have been like literally like
Charbroiled.
charbroiled, almost or
Nothing
as Randy says, not enough to fit in a shoebox or whatever, right?
Right.
But your whole body is there perfectly fine. I don't get that whole thing at all either.
Yeah.
Again, they do nothing to explain
explain
anything.
that.
Maybe Charlie's character was so upset with the fact that he had to use that body. He's like, you know what? I'm going to preserve these bodies for the other guys that are going to come back to solve their stuff, and that's how they get the bodies to keep this going.
I got you.
It's some
I got
sort of
nothing.
weird mystery that isn't necessary and doesn't really add anything.
I think it does add.
But if you
something to it. It absolutely-
Well,
if you introduce it, then explain it. And even if you explain it later, like it's okay to leave it a mystery for a while, but eventually the loose ends need to be like tied up.
all right, fine. I'm willing to concede this is why it's a bad movie. It still rules.
All right, but all right. So
I can't fix that for
The
you.
sheriff, that's okay. The Sheriff Loomis character is the first time we see him, which is Randy Quaid, and I love Randy Quaid. I'm a fan of his. I like a lot of his movies. I think he did a good amount of acting in a movie filled with hacky actors.
Yes.
But there's just nothing for him to do in this movie.
Right.
It's just him wandering around from scene to scene.
And saying weird insults. Like they all have weird insults for each other. It's very strange.
Yes.
The dialogue is very strange.
And he seemed particularly unscathed by seeing an eyeless, preserved body out of a fire. He was like, "Oh yeah, don't
He's been an Arizona sheriff for a long time.
don't say anything to anybody about this." I'm like, "That's kind of weird, dude." I don't
He must have a very interesting search history. That's probably why. On his 85,
In the
on his
80s.
85 MacBook Pro, they had those back in the 80s.
So the rapey gang is upset because Augie died, and Carrie is effectively a captive of this group.
Right.
Well,
Why is she crying about Augie?
Can we just say that the gang
he was the
didn't
only-
seem that upset about him dying?
No, she did. That's what I'm
She
saying.
was.
Even Packard was like, "It's no big loss." Like even Packard's like, "This dude sucked. Like it's not a big
Yeah.
deal." And she's kind of over there sobbing.
Because
She
she
lived
lived
down
down
the
the
street from
kid.
him.
Oh, cool, because they were in
Yeah.
chemistry
that's
together.
Right. She did say they were neighbors.
Yeah, so she's like, oh
Okay.
man, this was just a regular
Okay.
kid. Yeah, he went
Yeah.
down some crap, but
Again, my public service announcement. If you're gonna cut yourself, don't cut your palm.
We talked about this before.
It's a very hard place to
that's
heal.
much later.
No, it's right after this,
right
but go
here.
ahead.
But yeah, legitimately, they do that whole. I forgot where I was going because of the palm thing. Damn it!
Sorry.
Blood
That's not
lovers.
Blood lovers.
No, that part there. No, I missed it. It was
Sorry,
it was about
sorry.
that scene back and forth with everybody. Oh yeah, they're making jokes about the guys are to the sarge.
Yes.
or
Yeah.
lieutenant or sheriff, whatever.
Whoever.
Just like they're joking about the whole thing.
Yeah.
She doesn't know at this point that they were the ones, like, because she puts it together later. She doesn't know that they were the ones that knocked her on the head and killed.
No, I realize that, but even so,
So she doesn't know these are rapists.
still like
trash.
It seems like an unwilling member of this gang or group.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I get what you're saying. And the fact that she knew him when they were neighbors, I suppose. But yeah, Packard is nuts because right after this, they get into his Corvette and he's like, "I love you. Taste my blood." Right. Like tries it, like cuts his hand, tries to put it in her mouth.
Yeah, she gets it on her lip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
That's
like, "We're
gross.
blood lovers," and she's like, "I've never slept with you, and never will, and I don't love you."
The dude is out of control.
He's a real bad guy.
That's where he says, "If you won't be my girl, you won't be anybody's."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's over the top and stupid.
He's like, "Also, I want you to read this script I wrote about these two old people with Alzheimer's."
Oh Lord.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
it's just
We're
weird.
blood lovers.
And then the next scene, he doesn't have any bandages on his hands.
Guys,
No, because nothing's consistent.
No.
But that's typical for these type of movies,
Yes.
right? Because right after this, they go back to rapey gang headquarters. It's like this rundown shack, but inside it's like Tony Stark's laboratory from the Avengers.
yes.
Like immediately, my wife's like, "That's not the inside of the same building we just saw.
Right.
There's no way on earth." And it was a cool suite. I think it was a pretty cool suite.
That
setup.
was, so this is when I started thinking these people are not high school. Like they're
Right.
old,
No.
they're post-grad.
Yeah, they're running a chop shop.
They're running a chop shop. They've got the Rughead is like really good at what he does, and he's creative, and he's a master.
He's creating like a radio. So there's a radio killer. Is that
Yeah, radio interference.
interference? Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know what that is.
You would have to interrupt the ignition. So it's radio back and forth, but so you can just interrupt the ignition. So
Well,
if somebody
so-
tries to run, they can't.
Gotcha.
Maybe we're seeing some development in the rapey guys because they're realizing maybe it's not good to hold people's girlfriends captive and threaten rape. We'll just kill their engines so we can take their car without. So maybe there's some growth happening. In
Wow,
their
that's that.
character.
I appreciate you giving them the
That's
benefit of the
another
doubt.
term. I gotta watch it again. New mindset.
Yeah, so he's having him build. Basically, Clint Howard's is being tasked to build things that make it easier for him to win races because he said
Like
the
a
last one was too
genius.
close.
Yeah, he's like some type of ridiculous genius. He's
Right.
got these cool fuel injection motor he's gonna put in his car.
But while this is happening, a cameraman with a nervous condition is like sneaking up to the front door.
Right.
It was like the shakiest camera footage in a major movie that I've ever seen, right? Like, dude, rent a Steadicam. I mean, they were around by then, right? Rocky was the first one.
yeah, Rocky was the first Steadicam.
The first Steadicam. This was after Rocky, so rent a Steadicam.
Only 2.7 million. I couldn't afford it.
I guess. It's-
1.9 went to Charlie.
Yeah, that's right.
And so basically it's the Wraith. It's the POV of the Wraith, and the Wraith shows up and kicks in the door. And my favorite thing is like, it's him. And I'm like, how would you possibly know that with the tinted windows
Oh, it's true.
that
They've
the
never seen
Intercept,
him.
they'd never seen them at all. Oh, it's the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fine.
And
He shoots up the whole entire mechanic shop, and
Yes.
Rapey McRaperson just stands there.
Packard.
As
Packard
everybody
is
else
one-
is jumping for
Yeah.
cover. Packard's just like, yeah.
100% in this guy's face, shotgun like inches from it. He could just grab the end of the shotgun. Now you can do nothing. But the shotgun shoots laser beams, which is cool. Laser bullets.
And the
of some
shotgun,
type.
and the shotgun
Space
blast radius
shotgun.
wasn't accurate. Like it was just literally like it was like a pistol.
Well, it wasn't a shotgun. That was
Yeah.
the thing. It,
No, well,
he
it was
wasn't
like a
shooting
pistol
it.
explosion.
But the problem with using it is it's clearly a shotgun.
Right.
But they just put some red lights on it, and they're like, now it's a space shotgun.
Right. But like
my
he
God.
shoots at everything. Packard 100% nothing. Shoots
Stone
the hood of
face.
his car. I was like, oh.
Right. Right. And it's after I don't know, what seemed like 5 minutes of him shooting things.
It just sits there.
He sits there, but then he goes, son of a and it's like, oh, now he's
yeah,
mad.
I
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
It's so weird.
So you get mad when someone walks up to your so-called girlfriend,
Right.
and you get mad when someone just shoots up your car,
Right.
but you don't get mad when someone's shooting up your whole shop
How much
your
money
friends.
do you think that cost him?
or kill your friends.
Right.
Well, I don't know. They patched him up pretty quickly.
Well, later on, they're like, he's into us for 23 grand or something like
Right.
that, right? It's like in the next scene. And they drive those same cars to the burger
Yeah.
place, like
Well,
in the
they
next
were-
scene.
Yeah, we
And
were up
they
all
had,
night
like-
pounding out the
yeah.
bodywork.
Yeah, you see
But you
patches
see there's
on
patches
the
on
different
the
cars.
cars.
and stuff.
I know.
They
I'll give him
had like
credit
a
for
paint
that.
Was
roller.
there-
I'll give him credit for that.
There was a flashback to murder during that scene too. Was there?
Well, no, that was Clint Howard is able to catch a glimpse of that, like knowing that it was him.
Oh.
Like it flashes
But-
him inside the thing.
Oh, but
Clint
okay.
Howard wasn't like he's starting to put together like these are not just some people we're hanging out with
Right.
and running this little gang. At that point,
They're bad dudes.
You know, it's like
Okay.
these are bad guys.
Yeah.
But he wasn't there. He wasn't part of the gang when this happened. That's why he wasn't
Okay.
specifically targeted.
So the
ever.
Wraith was like
Right.
teleporting him into the scene.
right,
Yeah.
making him understand.
Give him like a heads up, like you need to get out of here, punk.
Has anyone
Yeah.
ever heard the
And
term
he's got, like,
kidney
these-
buster before?
No.
What is a kidney buster? Is it-
Oh, that's
Got
a
kidney
shotgun?
buster. Is that
Yeah,
what
that's
that is? I never-
must be slang for a shotgun. I don't know.
Anybody that knows what a kidney buster is, please email this show. The show is trash.
Show. We want to know all
gmail.com.
about
I mean, is
you.
it kidney
could've-
stones? I've heard those are pretty
That's
bad.
lithotropsy, man. The thing's awesome.
How about
Breaks
the
them up.
engine of souls that Clint Howard looked at?
Yeah, so that's what we're about to
was
get to. I'm going to
awesome.
skip over a bunch of scenes with Loomis, the Randy Quaid, because in between all these important scenes, there's him just
Investigation work.
randomly showing up like to like Skank and Gutter Boy at the airplane cemetery. Like, why do they work there? They're just randomly stamping things. And
what is Gutter Boy?
Good to fly. Okay to fly. Stamp. Okay to
that's why I
fly.
bought this hat, though.
Chug some hydraulic
Because I'm pretty sure they went to the Pima.
Oh, yes.
The Pima.
I think that's exactly where they were.
Boneyard area.
That's awesome.
Those planes were in the boneyard.
But none of those scenes really mean anything or matter. Or
There's some great dialogue.
There is, but it ultimately serves no purpose.
And the great, who was that guy, Skank? I don't know, but he was really weird. That's not the line.
That's good stuff.
I can't remember what it said.
It's all right. But the next important scene that happens is
weird and pissed off.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
And apparently that was lifted
sheriff.
from another movie.
The rejects show up at the burger place in the same cars after they pounded the stuff all night, right?
Pounding some body work.
Workout on it. And they're there looking for the Wraith, and there's a note placed on Packard's steering wheel after he gets out of the car that says, "I'm at Mountain Lookout Road." And because this guy never misses an opportunity to be a jerk, before he goes to race the Wraith, he yells at Carrie, "Hey, stupid, I'm going to pick you up from work.
You better be here.
And I'm be here. Dude just never misses a chance to be a jerk to her. They hop in, and then the other guy's like, "Hey, I'm the least important character left, so now it's my turn to race."
Right.
The Wraith. They're just working their way up to the important gang members.
Right.
And so now the weird jock guy, Minty.
What is his deal?
Is going to race.
Well, he's not minty fresh no more.
No, he's not, because
he's minty crisp.
And it literally works out the same exact way the Augie race did.
Yep.
And he ends up exploded. And but before that race, that's when Clint Howard pops the hood.
He discovers the engine of souls.
He's
This thing is freaking sweet.
It is
dude.
a
I wish
sweet
that
engine.
was real.
It's like from Soul
I love how it was pulsing like a heartbeat in there.
Yes.
Like,
The Wraith is the only one that can walk in both worlds.
Oh, can you imagine if Nick Cage had been in this movie? This was the perfect Nick Cage movie.
If Nick Cage played,
see Nick Cage in
if
this
Nick Cage
movie,
played
yes.
Packard, it'd be a 10
Right.
times better movie.
Nick
my
Cage,
God.
Nick Cage was at the theater watching this, throwing his stuff on the ground going, "How am I not in this movie?"
Where's my agent? Yeah, really.
Oh god.
Yeah, dude.
You
that's
imagine Nick
perfect
Cage
for
just
him.
shouting Packard lines.
Oh my god! Wait, I wanted them both in it.
Carrie, I'm gonna be up here to pick you up from work. You need just stay here, okay? Everybody, understand.
Oh my gosh!
We are blood lovers, you and I.
So Minty gets killed. The cops kind of trap the Wraith after this race, right? They get him kind of cornered,
Right.
but he just literally blows through the roadblock.
That's awesome.
Like
It's
the back
also-
ends are missing from the cop
Yeah,
cars.
Yeah, it's also the same footage from the first race.
Oh, is
that,
it?
That Ford Escort's in the same position
Oh,
and everything.
$2.7 million budget here.
But I love when he blows through the cop cars and it seems to
Absolutely.
just shear it off.
Shear
The
off
car's,
the front
but
ends,
his car is perfect. You know?
Oh,
so
yeah.
all the cops are like, wait, whoa.
Yeah.
That's Randy's first inkling. Yeah.
Sorry, I got a quick question. What was if anyone could explain this, what was the point of the disappearing things like gauntlets
like the-
and all that
braces?
stuff?
Thank you.
The braces. What is the point of
I
that?
think I forgot to mention, every time he kills somebody, a brace that he used to wear, because he had a brace on his arms and legs,
Yes.
would disappear.
Oh.
And
Right.
again,
That's how many times he
nothing.
had.
Yes, nothing is explained in. Nothing's explained in the movie
Right.
because it's not fleshed out enough and needed another pass.
I'm guessing that's his
But-
way to reincarnation.
No, so Mike
these souls.
So Mike Marvin actually explained this in an interview after the fact. It's supposed to show that every time he kills a gang member, he's getting stronger. He no longer needs that brace anymore. That's what the director says.
Okay.
But you shouldn't have to explain it 10 years later in an
That's
interview.
why-
Explain it in the movie.
Yes.
That's why at the end he gets out of the car and the suit comes off and he's
Yes.
like, I don't want to do that again. And you're
Yeah.
like, I don't understand. You've been doing that the whole movie.
But
going in
he's
and
also
out.
been able to be Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
So
But
that
that's,
doesn't make any
I
sense.
took that the other way, so that's interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't see what you had seen, but I took it the other way, as in like he can only do this so many times before
Well,
he can't do it again.
You
That's why I
had
gave
to.
up the car.
You had to make your own judgment because they didn't explain it at all.
Right.
I just
Right.
thought it showed that the Wraith was coming back to life every time. I
No,
didn't know it was different
just that he
parts
was
of
getting
his body.
stronger.
No,
Yeah,
because
Because when he first shows up, he's got all the.
I do remember the
Yeah.
first time he's up on the rock and then that thing disappears on his arm.
Yep.
But then I was like, oh, that's weird. But why didn't that
It's
ever
weird.
come back? Because he's never standing again before they come off. They just disappear off of him.
Well,
off
no,
the
you
ground.
see them all disappear off the ground, but that was the only one where they showed him overlooking, and it was like it disappeared from the ground, disappeared off of him.
So we're back at the burger place. It's now later that night. Billy and Carrie are closing up shop. And I just want to say about Billy, he's a really sucky actor, but just a good dude. I just thought he was a good dude.
That was a heart and soul movie.
Yeah,
and the girl.
absolutely. I mean, he's a little bit overdoing it from an acting standpoint, but
Well, he never acts again.
I liked him. No, I hear you.
He was high school drama.
Yeah,
acting.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
He
Yeah.
becomes Nick Cassavetes' casting director.
But there's something charming about him. I think he's got some charisma. But Charlie Sheen, after they're closing up, basically sneaks up because I'm assuming he just appeared. That's how he was able to sneak up.
Right.
And shows up on his dirt bike and says, hey, let's go for a ride. And so Carrie hops on the back. This time, Packard's not there to stop her, and they go for a ride together. But Skank and Gutter Boy see them driving together,
Right.
and a chase ensues.
Yes. Full of 1980s great tropes.
Good stuff.
Driving through pallets and boxes. They're just all over the alley.
Everywhere.
Make sure you hit that. Hit that. Big explosion of paper.
They found an alley full of trash. Like there's plenty of room in this alley.
It was like 1984
but the trash
Terminator right
comes
there.
out 9 feet from the building from one side, and then 30 feet later, 9 feet from the other side, in a perfect
my
zigzag.
It
favorite
is amazing how it must have been trash day. Maybe
Yeah.
putting it out. But
Oh
here's
my God.
here's my
Definitely
thing,
wasn't
though.
production
It's
assistant.
exactly the
trope?
same trash piles.
Yes.
This is a trope, but can I just say, I thought Gutter Boy had the most realistic response to how you would actually feel if you were in the car and someone was driving through boxes and trash that
Yes.
you did not know what was in it. I mean, that could be a
Right.
cathode road TV in there, a
No, you're right.
refrigerator, and he's freaking out. He's going, "You're going too fast. You're hitting everything."
No.
That's a realistic perspective of how
For
you
sure.
would feel, and.
But it's
That's
such
the
a
only movie
trope
I've
to
ever
just
seen.
stack
Yes.
the thing
It's
with
so
as many
funny.
boxes as you
I
can.
love Charles.
Yes.
A cathode ray TV, not a CRT, not a TV.
What about an RCA?
He went straight up cathode ray TV for
That
the
would wreck-
people
that would wreck
who
your car.
wouldn't
That would be
know
a
there's
serious
a difference.
problem.
I like
Yes.
that.
That would be a serious problem.
I was trying to think back
Yeah.
to the 80s. You know,
But
they
he-
didn't have flat screens.
He
but-
passes, so Skank, which is an important clarification. Skank passes the shotgun and he's like, to Gutter Boy, he's like, kill him. He's like, I don't know nothing about no shotgun.
Yeah.
It's my favorite line in the entire movie. And ends up shooting through the floor
Yes.
between his own legs.
Well, Skank doesn't know anything about shotguns either because he calls them bullets instead of shells.
That's right.
And I know nothing about guns, but I know,
you know it's a shell.
That it's a shell.
And somehow, can you take out the steering by shooting a shotgun through
In
the
the
floor?
passenger seat?
In the passenger
You
seat?
could potentially take out the drag link, but you'd have to shoot pretty far forward on that car.
Okay.
So
I'm like,
no.
all right, buddy. I think you just shoot a hole in the floor.
Yeah,
I don't
that,
think
that
you
there
know.
would be a hole in the floor and maybe an exhaust leak, you know?
Right,
And it seemed like he still had some steering control after that.
Right,
that's
in order
the
to
thing.
flip it. Yeah.
This is a perfect 1980s movie.
It was
Can I
great.
just say,
I don't know if I'd use perfect with this movie.
This was
can I just say that scene of them going through the tunnel, that gave me like legit anxiety.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but the fact the motorcycle was in that narrow spot and they were in that spot.
Well, they shot
I
it.
was like,
That was actually shot really well, that sequence, because sometimes those chases, they're just not shot in a way that if they're too wide out, you don't get that sense of speed with the cars and stuff. And they did that in a really good way to
I
make it
was
feel
like,
fast.
this is causing me trouble watching this. That was weird
Yeah.
response to that.
Because you can go the same speed in both shots, but one can make it look really fast, and one can, how you shoot it means everything.
Yep.
And have there ever been two more annoying characters that a movie is determined to keep featuring as much as possible? These two, I hated them. Not because of like what they were doing as characters or the choices they were making. They were just the way they talked, the way they were. I just was like, please stop showing them in every
I'm
other scene.
opposite. They were one of my favorites.
Really?
They
I
were
really liked
entertainment.
them.
I couldn't stand
But
those
here's
two.
the thing, though, on them.
If he was chewing a sandwich, would it be better? Talking into a CB?
At the end of that movie, I liked them quite a bit, but then I was like, "Ooh, they were like the rapey dudes at the beginning."
They were.
and
They
so
were
I was
the rapey
conflicted
dudes.
about like maybe
Yeah.
here's my theory of their development:
Okay.
the more Skank huffed things and drank hydraulic fluid, the more
Which I'm pretty sure you would die.
pacifist he became and less rapey. Because I liked them by the end, and I was sad when they died.
You can't drink
but you-
hydraulic fluid.
But
You
they were
can't-
bad guys.
You're not supposed to like these guys.
But Gutter Boy
because
seems so
legitimately-
like innocent in some sense.
Right,
Like, he
but
doesn't
they
know
were
what's
the
going
guys
on.
holding.
He seems
her
exploited.
head. They were the guys that smashed her head.
I know. That's why I
when
was
they
so like,
killed the other- they were
they're
murderous
bad.
trash.
But maybe
Yes.
it's Gutter Boy I liked.
But-
Skank was kind of weird.
Gutter Boy almost seems exploited in
Yes,
this scenario.
I
That
think
maybe
so.
he was doing
Right.
that because
He doesn't know.
he doesn't have an option.
Because he was clearly like in the car earlier when
Right.
Packard shows up with the knife. He's like, ooh, I'm scared. I don't want to.
Yeah.
So I think
Gutter
like
Boy's the kid on the side of a Goodwill truck.
Yeah.
You just feel bad for him.
Take your donations to Goodwill today.
Please donate to Goodwill, everybody.
Or
Thank
Love
you.
Inc. if you live in Burlington.
People work. If you get money, they
Salvation
work.
Army.
So Charlie and her are able to get away, Charlie and Carrie, and he gets to her house and they kiss.
Yeah, what was it?
He's like, I thought about that 2-second conversation we had on that raft and it just got me really worked up. But that's literally the only interactions they've had at this point.
So here's the other thing. Right before the racing scene, the pulsing red engine, I wrote, where's Charlie Sheen? I realized I haven't seen Charlie Sheen in this movie for like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Not knowing that he was the Wraith, right? Not putting this together in my head. And then, right, the kissing scene seems so like, well, have they developed any relationship?
Well, I get why he would. I mean, to him, there's a relationship. He has the memory. So I get why he would want to kiss her because that's his girlfriend. But she doesn't know.
She doesn't know
who this is. And she's already like, okay, we talked for 2 seconds on a raft. You drove me around on your dirt bike. Let's make out.
And they're
But
not,
she had that
seriously, like
feeling of
kissing.
familiarity right off the bat too.
I think the only thing you can say, and even that's a bit of a leap, but you can say she just sensed somehow there was something
That
about
was not shown well.
this guy, but they didn't. They need to explain that better if that's what
They
they're
were
going to go for.
obviously connected souls. If something in the world allowed him to come back,
Yeah.
I mean, I would kiss
Certainly.
Charlie Sheen after 2 seconds of showing up at my doorstep.
I think
Just for
if
the
Charlie Sheen
tabloid
was on
money.
what he usually is, he'd kiss you too.
just for the tabloid money alone, it'd be worth it.
So, but here's it. Packard is watching them make out from like a very conspicuous Corvette,
Like 3
like,
feet away.
It's like multicolored, like right across the street. Like, how do you not see Packard's Corvette sitting there?
Right.
Maybe he wanted him to see it.
He's kind of digging it a little too much. At least it seems the way Nick played it. Like, oh yeah, he's like, oh, kiss her. And then he basically pulls away and runs into Skank and Gutter Boy, who are walking because their car was destroyed.
Into a cemetery. Right?
And the Wraith knocks him into a cemetery, like knocks his car through a bunch of headstones and all that stuff.
That was a cool
just
scene.
rear-ended him.
Just rear ends him. But he's just messing with him. He's not going to kill him at this point. Because Gutter Boy and Skank pull out a shotgun, which they try to shoot the Wraith with, and it like Looney Tunes style, like Elmer Fudd, like explodes at the end.
It's great.
But then Skank is still holding it like it's going to do something later on. He's like still got it like this, and he's moving around. I'm like, dude, you can throw that on the ground.
How destroyed would that car have been going through a graveyard? With gravestones?
With
Oh,
headstones.
that fiberglass Corvette.
Oh, we're putting too much thought into this. It's awesome.
We don't get to
And
go
there's
this
even
far.
That's what
there's
we
even
do.
a stone on the windshield, and he's just like heavy. He lifts it up, but there's no cracks. There's
It
no
was made out of
damage.
styrofoam. You know what I mean?
Well,
It
that's
wasn't
what
a
I'm
real
saying.
headstone.
He's crashing through styrofoam headstones, Bob.
That is true. I had a styrofoam headstone made for one of our movies that never got used.
Oh,
It's still in my
man.
garage.
Still in your garage.
Well, put it
Yeah.
up in your yard and drive through it.
And put Packard's name on it, like the Wraith did.
And I like how it's like several shots. It shows Packard's name.
He
and
no
then
sells it.
he
And we
doesn't
see it before Packard says it.
It's
That
like
was
twice, and then he looks down. Like, oh my gosh, it's me.
Right.
That's now I know where the Undertaker got that idea for WWF. He watched this movie. He's like, this is great.
So the cops roll up to Packard's warehouse to go bring him into the station, and he's there getting it on with some chick. Like, for all the stuff, the hard time he gives Carrie, he's literally here with some other girl.
Yeah.
Who
Apparently it's
I
against
think
her
was
will.
think was captive. But I mean, she
Didn't look like she was
one of the
captive.
I don't
fellow
know.
waitress girls.
She was a waitress, but she says thank you to Loomis after
Yeah,
he
I don't think
hauls
she
her away.
Well, no, because he threw the shirt to her.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah.
I thought it was like thank you for
She's toplessly
stopping what
sitting
was
here.
about to happen.
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
But anyway, he pulls him into the station. He's trying to protect the cops, trying to protect the rapey gang because they're getting picked off one by one. And Charlie Sheen, at this point, takes Carrie to a hot spring / I don't know if the other place was the rock beach, is like a rock hot tub, I guess, right? Like
Rock tub.
the rock tub.
Rock tub of love.
And she says, "I like you," and he's like, "I love you." And they have the worst love scene I might have ever seen.
Very graphically kissy.
Well, not only it's just
Like,
Beautifully shot.
it's like shot like by a 12-year-old.
well, yeah.
It's not even shot in a way that's like enticing or
it's uncomfortable.
erotic.
Lies.
or
Lies.
it's just
Staying
like
uncomfortable. This is great.
it's just weird.
Perfect.
I was very
80s.
happy at that point. My daughter had left the room.
Why were you
Several
watching this with
points
your daughter
before-
in the
Well,
first
I
place?
was. She was going to bed and passing through, but I had to watch it at some point, and my family lives with me, so
It's such a. You thought that you didn't think that was an awkward scene the way that was shot.
Why did we only see one boob?
Yeah,
wow.
that's the problem.
I'm joking,
That's where the awkwardness in the shot is. Like, come on, just pan around.
Just one off the shoulder.
You were waiting for Sherilyn Fenn to get her clothes off the entire movie. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Well,
She's
you're
gorgeous.
welcome. It happened because it's 1986.
Yeah.
So you know at some point the shirt's coming off,
Right.
right? Not the bottoms. This is the
Bathing
80s.
suit.
Not the bottoms.
yeah.
Just always the top.
It was an uncomfortable scene.
It was. Even the stuff when the camera's focused on Charlie
Who was it
and not
uncomfortable
on
for?
her, right?
Who was uncomfortable for? The wives in the room or you guys?
No,
I was
it was
uncomfortable.
awkward.
It was way too Frenchy, kissy,
Get past the
and
like.
necky
I know you guys are like 12 and you can't like boobs, but like
Nailed it.
get past the fact that you could see her boobs for a second, and just the way like you adult men who have been in this situation
Yeah,
maybe
it was a little
with a
weird.
woman at some point.
Never.
It was a weird scene the way it was shot. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not saying like in a hot tub.
Oh.
In a rock, but
Well-
I mean like
I've
I
never
just
been
say
in a rock
all
hot
of the
tub.
scenes involving like from when the first murder scene they're doing,
Yes.
they're having sex, and then with Packard and the girl. They're all shot weird
Yeah.
and uncomfortably.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That was they wasted most of their time. They shot that like 48 times, I bet. Nah, we need another take.
Charlie, of course. I mean, he's notorious, right? He's probably like, "Can we do it one more time?"
We went one time. Back to one.
They didn't have intimacy coordinators on set like they do now,
probably
right?
Back to one for Misty Mountains.
Did you know she was dating Johnny Depp at the time?
So I found that out. I did not know
was
that.
on IMDb, and he was staying there and was on set every day, and he lived in the hotel with her.
So he must have then gone with Charlie because he was in Platoon.
Yeah, they
With
were both
Charlie.
in Platoon.
So I don't know if like they just took off together after he got done making out with his
Johnny
girlfriend.
Depp's in Platoon?
Yeah.
I didn't even see that movie.
There you go.
I've never seen it either.
All right. So after their weird session in the rock tub, he brings her home and and she's like, "That was one of the nicest times I've had in a long time." And I'm like, "Okay, that's why you showed him your boobies, because it's like he was nice to you for 4 seconds after dealing with Packard."
Because he wasn't trying to be rude.
Wasn't a creep.
Like it was such a low bar that Packard had set, right?
Well, that is probably true, but
You're not trying to force love on
just a
me.
public
Take
service
some.
announcement. If
Yes.
you're in an abusive relationship, you need to get help and not just go into the arms of someone else.
Correct.
Just kick him in the nuts.
good.
It's not the
That's
good
good.
way to handle emotional, relational trauma.
Correct. That's not going to fix anything.
No.
Kick him in the nuts and hit him with a blender.
That's right.
I guess unless it's your ex-boyfriend who died who came back in the body of someone else.
To kill your
then it's
captor.
okay.
I mean, maybe,
Yeah.
but you
Sure.
probably really want to verify that before
Yeah,
you
you wanna
go
make
that
sure.
direction.
Because he could just be saying
He
it.
could, and he could just, he could totally be another scumball.
She really just doesn't look into it very deep at all. She just goes,
No.
yeah, that checks out.
No.
If when you,
Yeah.
if the first thing he asks you when you meet a guy is like, "Hey, have you seen the movie The Wraith?" and you say no, it's like, be aware of the situation.
All right, so then we come back and he's released the rapey gang from the station, and Gutter Boy and Skank are back at the workshop with Eraserhead. What was his name? Rughead walks out the door, and right at that point, the Wraith drives through the front
Well,
door.
he tells him we gotta get out of here. He says,
Yeah.
I like this quote.
Yes.
This gang thing was okay when that we had the edge, but now there's that Wraith out there that killed Augie.
Yeah.
What out there, man? A Wraith, man, a ghost, an evil spirit, and it ain't cool.
Yeah.
I sat there when he did that, and I looked at him. I was like, he said the thing.
He said the thing.
He said the
I love when
title
people
of the
say
movie.
titles in the
Yes,
movies.
yes.
But you're right. He did try together. Although what he says is kind of awful. Like it was better when we could just do this and no one could stop us.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, right.
Like okay.
Yeah.
He runs out
And he's got his blueprints. He mentions that. I got my
Yes.
blueprints, and he's going out.
the Wraith drives through the front door and crashes directly into Skank and Gutter Boy, and the whole place.
It is a huge explosion.
It's like they have dynamite in their underwear or something because like
It's like C4. in
C4.
your underwear. I don't know
It's
what
like
kind of explosive.
Gagoosh. The whole workshop goes up. It was an awesome explosion.
It was good. They do a great job of the fire plume. You know,
Yes.
Everything burns.
you have a good like. You can do a small one of these if you are into fireworks and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Take a decent sized firework and some powdered creamer and blow that up because the fire will
plume?
actually catch the creamer on fire, and
nice.
it gives you that red and dark, smoky.
Are we going to go to jail for that recommendation?
Yeah,
no,
we're
no,
just
no,
going to
that
teach
doesn't-
people how to do that. That's
Just
great.
to make the mushroom cloud look explosion.
All right, boys and girls, please send us your videos of you doing this.
Do not send us videos of you burning down your neighbor's garage.
All right.
Yeah, the explosion was unbelievable.
It was.
Yeah, it was impressive.
And he's now at this point,
I was
Rughead's
sad
very
that-
distraught.
I was sad that Skank and Gutter Boy died.
I was not. When they flipped their car earlier, I was like, oh, it's too much to hope that they're dead. And they crawled out.
I was like, oh
and I
no,
was
they
like-
died. And then they got out and I was happy. So see, I was so conflicted because I liked those two.
Yeah, they were really great people.
Yeah,
I know.
they were good rapist gang members.
Gutter Boy I liked more than
Yeah,
Skank.
that's true.
They were both public service announcements.
All right, so we're back at the Burger Palace again, and I'm just like, hey, Burger Palace or whatever your
Big K Burger,
Big K
James.
Burgers. Could you hire somebody to help Billy out, for crying out loud?
No, they had all the money spent on talent.
The dude is getting killed in the kitchen back there. This is just the way my brain works.
Right, yeah.
I'm just like, yo, get somebody on to help him on this shift.
What I liked, though, about that scene is he didn't stop working. A lot of times in shows, the people stop to talk to the cop.
Right.
He's like, no, I got to get all these
No, he
things.
did
like,
the-
He's getting
going out
killed.
and fries
Yeah.
and Cokes.
Now, in a moment here, Packard gets here and he
Kidnaps
Billy
Carrie.
tries to
Yeah.
stop, and everybody just lets it happen, and he gets
Right.
pissed off at him. But my problem is she didn't stop. She's wearing freaking roller skates. This guy cannot run faster than you can roller
Right.
skate.
And we just watched the Roller Boys.
Yeah, we know.
And those guys can get away
That's
like,
true.
but there was gravel everywhere. That's the
If those
problem.
midriff waitresses formed a gang, the world would be in trouble.
I
They
would
take over Tucson.
Take over
Yeah.
Tucson, baby.
I would move to Tucson.
Day of the rope.
Billy is their head.
I would move to Tucson.
Day of the rope.
Did you guys? One of the funny scenes in that is when the cop's talking to him and he's pouring a ton of sugar
Oh,
in
yeah.
his coffee. Just pours and pours and pours and
Yeah,
pours.
This is Randy Quaid we're talking about.
Because Randy Quaid's got to entertain himself. I think he's bored out of his mind in this movie.
I'm here in this movie doing this Law and Order segment.
None of the scenes matter. It's like he just kind of wanders in, like, I guess I'll be in this scene.
Yeah.
And he just wanders out. And here's the thing about the cop. He never affects anything that
No,
happens.
No.
but he drives super close to the fire damage.
He does.
He drives right up to the edge. Watch it again. In every
Melt the
scene,
tires.
he's like right up to the
Yeah.
building, right up to the cars that exploded. Like,
But like
you don't
he
need
doesn't
that
catch
close.
anybody. He doesn't stop the wraith. He just shows up afterwards and picks up the bodies. That's it. He could have effectively not been in the movie and it wouldn't have mattered. The cops could not
Well,
have
the
been.
only,
We
the
see your
only
vote.
thing, the only thing he's good for is that he gets Billy off.
His acting's
because
fine.
Billy gets the car in the end, and people would think Billy was the one killing them all.
I
But
guess.
the cop knew the car was supernatural, and it wasn't. Billy.
Okay, so he served that one
he
purpose.
served that purpose.
Okay, that's fine.
Vote rescinded.
Vote rescinded. But yeah, so Packard shows up and tries to.
Well, in that fight,
Hang
when
on.
he's taking Carrie, he basically confesses to Billy that he killed his brother in
Does
front
he?
of everybody. He's like, "You might get killed like your brother," or something like that. He says.
That's true. So he shows up to kidnap Carrie. Packard
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
And Billy's the only one that tries to stop him.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And he gets his butt kicked for it.
beat
For
up.
his trouble.
For his trouble. But I do love that he turned around and just started
Yeah,
screaming
he
at
yells
everybody.
at
Right. He's like, "You bastards!
Why didn't you do anything?
You let him take her.
You just let him do it." Yeah. It was. I thought that was actually really good.
It was. Stand up to bullies, people,
That's right.
especially when they're abusing women.
And so he basically just and at this point it's just him left. Like Rughead is still alive, but he's not with him anymore.
Right.
And so it's just Packard left, and he drives, Carrie out into the middle of nowhere.
They're going to California, baby.
And that's right. They're going to go literally take off.
going with you.
But then at one point they're in the road and he's going to murder her.
Right.
He's got the knife out.
Yes.
Right. And he's going to kill her. And he's a second away from killing his girlfriend. And the Wraith rolls up. And he's like, "Hey, you want to race?" Like he just switches gears immediately. Like, let's race. I'm like, you know what happened to every other member of your
Right.
gang,
He's got to go for it. He's racing's in his blood.
but he's got to do it.
That's how he does it. He's going to try to kill him.
And so we got the old Corvette. I don't know what year that thing was.
I'm going to go with like 85, 6.
So it's pretty new
According
to the time.
IMDb, it was a custom 70s Chevy Corvette, but it had an 84 tail.
Oh,
Okay, because I looked at it as like it didn't have
some
chrome
bottle-
bumpers on it, so
Yeah.
it was
It had a lot of fabrication
Modified.
work on the hood and stuff. It was
yeah.
not
I guess
stock.
it would be. Yeah.
He also confesses to Carrie that he killed Jamie.
You're right. The 85-6 would be the next style
up?
car.
You just look awesome. That's all.
Thank you.
I don't know jack about Corvettes.
No, that's okay. I just was curious because it looked like it was patched together.
Yeah, well,
Like-
it was.
Well,
You know,
because he had gotten shot too.
The chop shop thing, you know.
I mean,
Oh,
Gary. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
you.
Gary did also before the Wraith showed up did infuriate him more by saying
Yes.
like, "You interrupted me and Jamie doing it."
Right.
Yeah, I was always with Jamie.
His face was priceless, and then
Yes, she was goading him
she was peeing him off. It was great.
for sure. And of course, he's gonna race this guy. And what do you think happens?
I mean, he's hopped up on pre-workout cocaine and testosterone. He has something to prove.
I was waiting for how long?
It's been too long.
It was
Yeah.
There you go, people.
1 hour, 19 minutes, 20 seconds.
That's right.
The other thing I thought was hilarious. You know, back in the 80s, they had 75-mile-an-hour speedometers.
Yeah.
I saw that in the movie.
And they were driving, and he was only going like 55.
They're in the speedometer the
Every
whole
time they showed him, it was
Yeah.
like 55
I
mile
saw-
an hour, and like that's not very fast.
I was
Well,
going to say that like the car
that's what speed
tops
limit-
out at 75 miles an hour. That's the speedometer I'm
No,
watching.
that's just where the speedometer
They
stops.
did it
go
for
faster.
safety reasons. The theory was it would make people not speed, but all
'Cause
that
they didn't
did
know how
is-
fast they
all
were.
that did
Oh,
is you
wow.
just clock it at 75, and then you don't know how fast you are going. Of course,
That's right.
most cars back then, because of smog regulations, couldn't go past 75 anyways.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
100.
I did not know that.
My brain just exploded.
So the Wraith, speaking of exploding, the Wraith explodes Packard, right, in the same way that he does with everybody else. And that's it. And so she's just left stranded in the middle of the desert. I'm like, the Wraith couldn't give Carrie a ride home. She walks home
Right.
from the desert.
Carrying her roller skate. Where'd she get the shoes?
And she's, thank you. Number one,
She was wearing, I thought that too. I'm like, did
because she got
take it with her?
kidnapped in her skates.
Skates.
Right.
But then as she's getting to her front door, that's when Charlie shows up. And I'm like, why didn't you give her a ride?
Maybe Packard's not that bad of a guy. Maybe he already had a pair of shoes for her, knowing that he picks her up
Maybe.
from
He
work.
was taking her Calvin.
Maybe those the shoes that came off of Packard's corpse.
No, come on.
Yeah, well, you got Packard's corpse laying.
Here you go,
right?
I'm
His
just
eyes
gonna
are gone,
take
but he's
these.
laying
All
out
right.
the car, and the sheriff.
That's the
walks
first time
up.
I noticed, and we were talking about that earlier when you guys
Yeah.
said they were perfectly laying there without their eyes. I like, what are you guys talking about?
Well,
And I
he
saw
had
it-
his eyes.
and
That
I-
was the worst
And I
part.
saw the ending, and I'm like, I must have missed that in the early on in the movie. I'm like, why is he there
Yeah.
naked and not burnt?
It was early in the movie, but then why not take his eyes out? Like, it
Right.
would have been such
Yeah,
a
it
cool
was
shot.
Everybody
Obvious that
else's,
his eyes were
his
gone.
eyes,
Yeah.
like when you look
How'd
at
you
the
see
bug
his
body,
eyes were in there? Like it just
His
looked like
eyes were
His
open.
eyes were open.
Oh, okay.
He still had his eyes.
Yeah.
The other ones, that
Yeah.
they were all darkened around like this big. Like
I was
he wearing
watching this on,
glasses.
That's a big miss.
Prime Video. So I mean,
No,
Cops
it's all
like,
cool. It's a
Should
big
we
miss.
go after him? He's like, you can't stop something that can't be stopped.
That's right.
And let's just go home, boys. Clean this up.
All right, we've officially
Nobody
done
left for
nothing
him to
here.
kill.
We've officially done nothing here. Were you gonna say something? Sorry.
Change Silent Bob Strike Back. F this guy. Let's go back to the station house and
Yeah, I got you. So he basically comes out of his car, and she's just like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "You know who I am, Jamie," and like immediately gets it. I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know either.
She just gets it immediately. They embrace. They kiss. He's like, "I'm back now. This is I came back in the only way I could," which is like his kind of half-assed attempt to explain why he doesn't look like
I
himself.
don't
I
understand.
got hotter.
And then it got hotter. And then he leaves her there for a minute. He's like, "I'll be right back." He goes to bring the car to Billy. He's going to give him the turbo interceptor, which is awesome. I love that he
Maybe
gives the
he
car to
didn't
Billy.
like his little brother, and he's like, "Here, you take the rap for this. Shit. I'm out."
See you later, guys. See you in 15 to 20.
He gives him, and then even Billy's like, "Who are you, bro?"
Bro. He says bro all the time.
Yeah. And he goes, "You said it, man."
Said it, man.
And because Billy's dense, he still doesn't get it right away.
Would you?
Here's the other thing,
No,
though, is why
but-
didn't Charlie stay around and talk to his brother?
I don't know.
Why not, tell him, hey,
Well,
But
man,
apparently he was fine now.
But in the movie,
Well,
he
he's
didn't
gonna go
have
hang out with
much
the
time
chick.
left. We didn't realize he had a flight to catch. He didn't have time to shoot the
He
scene
literally-
where he said anything.
he had to
his
go to
brother.
Platoon. He had to go. Yeah, that's why he took off. He had to go shoot
he's
Platoon.
Like, blood is not thicker than water. I'm going to go make it with this hot chick. Sorry, brother. You're mourning my death since the
have
moment
more-
we met you.
And
but
as he
I'm
pulls
not.
away, there's this really kind of heartfelt thing where he's like, "Who are you?" And then he pauses and he's like, "Jamie."
Yeah.
It's great.
Right? It's good
time.
stuff.
Good stuff.
And that's just the end. And guys,
They ride away into the moon like her dream.
on the bumpy road. On the bumpy road.
the bumpy road.
And I have so many questions. Like, how is he able to come back?
Yes.
Where did he come back from?
Why didn't he come back as Jamie?
How did he get the powers? Why can't he look like himself? Does he have to go back now? Is she going with him? Does he get to stay and live as a human again? Is he a human? Like,
Yes.
none of these questions get answered.
No, I did put something together while we were talking.
Yeah.
And you said the director said that he was healing. I noticed at the beginning when you saw Jake, his cut on his neck was much more pronounced.
Yeah.
And by the end, it was much less. So he must have been healing. I think he was.
Yes.
I think he was fully resurrected.
Okay.
And
So he doesn't have to go back.
he said we have a second chance at this, so that's why they hop on the motorcycle and drive away to new
Yeah.
life.
Okay. But then why blow his brother off?
That's why I'm saying, why not spend some time with your brother who's like mourning and grieving
none of
that
it
you've
makes
been
any
murdered
sense.
and.
If you
Where-
had a
where was he?
choice between talking to your brother
Well,
or getting it on after all these
Well, you're
years,
gonna still be able to get it on.
he
At least-
just did in the rock tub.
Yeah.
He has more rock
So you're gonna
tubs.
not
In
do
the
it again?
moonlight, rock tub in the moonlight.
Can I just say they do kiss like a bunch of horny teenagers? It's
do.
not like it's like they can't get away from each other.
Honestly, but just like answer at least some of the basic questions.
Seriously, I felt so bad for Billy.
Yeah.
Billy was
All right.
awesome.
Well, guys, it's time. If you got anything in your notes, anything at all that you noticed while you were watching this, you'd want to discuss it now because it's time to talk about the little things.
I've got several.
I have one.
Did you
Lou?
say a couple, several?
a couple several. So you can have my time.
Go ahead.
The first one is I do think it's when I first heard Billy say "bro."
Yeah.
I thought that seems weird for the '80s. Like I don't think "bro" was used as much in the '80s as it is now.
Well, now it's bruh.
Bruh. I have a theory on that because we've got the kids and they don't
Yeah.
even say bruh anymore. It's just bruh, bruh, bruh. Pretty soon it's just going to be buh.
So I could be
They're
wrong.
getting lazier.
My
They-
fellow-
it was
pronounce-
brother.
My fellow
Yeah.
Gen Xers who are a little older than me, they might know whether "bro" was more common, but
Yeah.
I thought that seemed a little awkward.
Okay.
Yeah. The second thing is I really like the scene in The Office where Loomis is cutting the paper people out.
Oh,
He
yeah,
cuts
yeah.
the
No
head
heads.
off, and he stretches it out in front of him.
Yes.
And Gutter Boy's all freaked out. and
Foreshadowing.
scared, and that was really nice.
Yeah.
That was
good.
And then I was going to say the car thing again. I was shocked that was real.
Yeah, me too. Here's the thing. Loomis is my favorite character in the movie, even though he was totally useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't like pickles.
Oh yeah, he took the pickles off the burger.
And pickles are the bane of humanity, okay?
I remember that pickle episode.
I hate if there's pickles even near the thing I'm trying to eat. It's contaminated.
with juices.
It's contaminated the entire thing, right? So I'm like, I'll ask people when I go places, are there pickles on there? Like, no. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Are there pickles you put on the plate or in the basket or anything, not even on the sandwich? I don't want them anywhere near. And I'm not kidding. 90% of the time, they can't get that right because
Right.
they're so used to putting it in there.
It's on the paper, and then they put your sandwich down on top. Well, the pickles are on the side. It's like, listen, this bun is trash. all
That's right. That's
I
what
need
I'm
a fresh
saying.
one.
Or
don't
it's
mind pickles,
obvious.
but I understand.
It's obvious that they put it in the basket, saw the ticket, realized, took it off, but you can still see the puddle where the pickles were.
Right.
And but I'm like, bro. Anyway,
You really
that's my
don't like
pickle. I hate them.
pickles.
I hate them. They're the worst.
All versions?
All versions
Okay.
are evil.
I'll have to take your thank you gift back.
All right, well, it's time to give some awards out to this movie. We're going to give it its flowers. These bad movies, or, bad in quotation marks, I should say, as judged by the critics, don't often get a lot of awards. We're going to give some out to them. And today, joining us for, the award section is Paul Bell, one of our guys from Patreon, who's a member. One of the perks is you can submit awards for our shows and be read during the episode. And so today, as I go through my awards, I'm going to be including Paul Bell's, one of our listeners' awards for this movie. So we're going to start, as we always do, with our Will Patton Award for Intensity. So who wins the Will Patton Award for you, Bob? Which is not a judgment of acting, so to speak, as it is just straight intensity.
I would say Nicky C would win
Nick
it.
Cassavetes.
Nick Cassavetes would win it.
I can totally see why you would say that for sure.
Absolutely. He brought it.
When he cut his hand open.
Yeah, he was an idiot for doing that, but yeah. He believed in it.
Who you got, Charles?
I think you could go with several of the gangster guys, but I'm going to pick Jamie Bozzian as Gutter Boy.
Gutter Boy for intent. He was.
I thought he carried that role the whole way through, and he made me like a rape.
He kept consistent.
I think Skank was intense with it, all the twitching,
was too,
everything.
yeah.
They were hardcore intense, but I gotta leave the tip of the hat to Packard. The dude was
Okay.
straight, just demented the whole time.
So which one are you picking?
I'm picking Packard.
Packard.
Like it's
Okay.
tipping.
Nick Cassavetes. Okay. Yeah. Got you. So I went with Clint Howard. I mean, the scenes where he was wigging out,
Yeah.
or even the scene when he opened the trunk and saw the dudes. I mean, I think he gave a pretty intense performance.
He was good. He's probably the best actor in the movie.
Was really good. So that for me was the winner. Paul went with Matthew Barry, the guy that played Billy, as his most intense.
I was thinking Billy too, but only in the last scenes.
That's what I'm saying.
She's
Yeah.
getting beat up, and that last scene walking out. So like your memory of the movie, if it's a fresh watch, is that. But when you go back and check it, that guy does very little in some parts of the movie. So.
Yeah. So his rationale, and I agree with you, Clint, but his rationale was he embraced the part from the start, from getting angry at the kidnapping to the end when he's shouting after Jake and yelling Jamie and all that and crying his name. He thought was really powerful. But you're right, all of that was in the last 20 minutes.
That was the end
of the movie.
Absolutely.
But I understand why you might pick that though.
I would
for sure.
say overall, I don't know if you call it good acting, but everyone bought into this project.
For the most part.
I mean, they were really into
Yeah.
it, and they acted their roles as well as they could, and they seemed to really want to do it.
Well, not everybody acted their roles, because we're going to hand out now the Michael Dudikoff Trash Can Full of Dirt Award, which is an acting award that we give to the person with the worst acting skills, at least in this movie, because there's been some people like Patricia Arquette in Prayer of the Roller Boys that are good actors and actresses that won this award because they just phoned it in on this project. So this is not an indictment of someone's entire career, but just this movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Go for it, Bob. Who you got?
Who do I got?
Who's your Dudikoff?
Who's my Dudikoff? My Dudikoff is Crop Top Boy.
Crop Top Boy. Oh, Augie?
Augie.
Oh, he was pretty bad.
Yeah.
He wore this like crop top that was like right under his chest.
And a terrible leopard print bandana.
Yeah, it was awful.
He was not macho enough.
Even Packard was like, he's not. I'm glad he's dead.
He did not pass the test, brother.
Macho Man's in the house. I love it.
All right, mine's probably going to be controversial, but I actually did not like Nick Cassavetes very much.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I thought he was... His character was bad, but his acting was not good. So
I gotcha.
So he was so like deadpan most of it, but he did weird stuff. But it wasn't like I just didn't buy him.
That he was bad more because of the script as opposed to the performance.
No, I think his performance was bad.
No, I meant like bad as an evil. Like
yeah. His character was evil, and he came across that way, but he wasn't like.
Wasn't because of what he did.
No, I didn't
Gotcha.
think so.
I'd say there's definitely spots there where he wasn't doing a great job, but
Yeah.
I don't think Trash Can Full of Dirt level.
I got you.
Mine was between Augie and Minty. I think Minty, from an acting standpoint, like his delivery of his couple of lines was better. Augie, they were both replaceable completely with
Yes.
anybody. They were garbage, didn't need to be there. Could have been any person picked off the street, but
So,
yeah, probably Augie.
You're going with Augie? So it's 2 votes for. So I meant to say earlier, Nick Cassavetes actually won the Will Patton Award because he got 2 votes. And so right now Augie is winning. But we're going to have a tie here because me and Paul Bell both went in the same direction. We both picked Sherilyn Fenn
Really?
as our trash can.
Yeah.
Really? What?
Yeah.
Are you surprised? Her acting was...
She was all right.
What?
Maybe it was
Bob,
the boobs.
no.
It's
Possible
not...
the boobs
no.
Her
distracted.
body has nothing to
No.
do with...
Absolutely not.
Her performance
I mean,
was
Hot Babe
terrible.
Award.
I mean, it is a part of her character.
Ugly.
She was just terrible.
Ugly
I didn't
chicks.
think she was terrible.
Hold on.
She was... Oh, my gosh.
Hold on. Ugly
Charles.
chicks get. Hold on. Ugly chicks get Oscars.
I'm sorry,
Hot
this
chicks
is-
have knockers.
This is my turn to explain my award. And she was a terrible actress. She now went on to do lots of good things. Okay.
I don't know lots.
Twin Peaks.
She was, well, yeah, she was in a bunch of good
Yes,
stuff.
she did.
I can't believe she was in that show.
She's actually had quite the career. But in this movie, every line reading, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm here floating in this river. And let's have a conversation.
She was staring at Johnny Depp the
I'm
whole
like-
time behind the cameraman.
I'm like, come on. Her line readings were awful.
I liked her.
Awful.
oh my god.
She reacted. Okay, so, and Paul gives an even better reason for it than I have.
All right.
Okay, so Paul says Sherilyn Fenn. He said her reactions were the same to 3 things: meeting Jake, watching Packard cut himself, and finding out who killed Jamie. She reacted the same to all 3
What's
of
her
those
shock
things.
face? Everyone's got a shock face. She just all of those were shocking things. It's the same,
Pure monotone performance. She was
Shocked.
bad.
Can't
So it'd be a
believe
tie. So the guy that played Augie, I don't know what that guy, whoever he is, and Sherilyn Fenn will co-win the Michael Dudikoff Trash Can Full
Griffin
of Dirt
O'Neill.
Award. Griffin O'Neill and Sherilyn Fenn both get a piece of that trash can.
I don't think so.
Well, you got
don't get a
outvoted,
choice,
brother.
yeah.
I know. I'm still sticking with my pick.
That's fine. All right.
You're not gonna like me on
That's how your votes work.
Top 3
We
performances.
don't agree. We can't be friends.
Top 3 performances. We're going to go the other way. Clint, who you got?
All right, my top 3 performances. I did like Charlie Sheen. 3.
Yeah.
I did like Billy Hankins. That's Matthew Berry. He wasn't a great. See, I'm always torn with this because he says this is subjective. I love the character. Maybe he didn't do some great acting,
No, but if
those
you liked
last
him-
20 minutes bring up the early on transgressions. So
Yeah.
to me, I like him. And Randy Quaid. I know you say he didn't do a lot of acting.
He was
the guy
good.
is funny as
No, he's great.
like even in his no cells on some of this stuff. I mean,
I didn't say he didn't do any acting. I just is a poor script that his character had nothing to do.
Right.
And
Okay.
so he did fine with what he had.
Yeah.
I mean, he's great.
no, I like those 3.
But I'm just like, why is he here?
3, 2, 1 order. That was it. Yeah.
I'll never argue with having Randy Quaid in there.
All right. So I don't know if there's I thought Clint Howard was really good.
Okay.
I liked him a lot. I don't know if you'd put him 1 or 2.
Okay.
Randy Quaid I really liked. And I like Sherilyn Fenn.
Sherilyn Fenn made your top 3,
She did.
Clint Howard would definitely be on a 4 spot.
but not because of her acting.
Look, I started watching this movie at 9:00 at night with coffee, and she has boobs. So it's entirely possible
America!
that is the reason why I picked her. But I thought she was okay in this. I thought she brought some.
Just scream America
all
for
right.
What does that have to do with
Boobs in America. I mean,
But
boobs are not only in America.
I also had Skank
America
Guy.
does boobs better than any other country.
I don't know if that's true.
I did. Skank
I'm
was up
gonna
there
need to
too.
do more
I thought she
research.
was-
Okay, it was up there. All right, Bob. I need to do more research. Bob, please go and save us.
Save us from
He can't. He started this.
I
started
know.
it.
Just want to get through it.
I just want to get through it.
Give me your top 3.
All right. Cheryl Fenn.
Number 1.
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, 3. Okay, got it. I got it. I can draw a triangle. All right. All right. So Paul's top
Not
3.
Just a pretty face.
Paul had Randy Quaid at number 3.
Gotcha.
He said in a film of bad actors, it was fun to see Randy bring some genuine acting to the role. I was like, yeah, he classing up the joint a little bit with some acting. And then he had at number 2 and number 1, he had Gutter Boy and Skank as his number 1 and 2.
They were
I
intense.
could see
Jamie
that.
Bozzian
I
and
thought they
David
really-
Sherrill.
They were
They
acting.
carried that pretty
They
well.
did their parts.
Gutter
Yeah.
Boy particularly. I mean, I really thought Gutter Boy was a good.
He said these two were clearly given a direction and ran with it all the way, regardless of how other people felt about it.
True story.
So
Skank had a good pre-death phase.
he did. He did. That was a good reaction. All right. So my top 3, Charlie Sheen, number 3. He was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't like great, but he was fine.
It wasn't the oh my god Charlie Sheen.
No, it wasn't the nutso one.
Yeah.
I actually had Nick Cassavetes as number 2 just because I hated the guy so much, and I think it makes the whole movie work because if you don't want that guy to meet an untimely demise.
I think we hate that character no
You know.
matter how, just because
Yeah.
of the situation.
That's
Sure.
That's
He's
what
a
I think.
rapist tool.
Which is fine, but he still gets the benefit, I guess, of it for me. And then number 1, I had Sherilyn Fenn as my number 1 performance.
That's right, you did. Yeah, you did.
For which reason?
Did your wife go to sleep by this time?
No, I thought she was my favorite performer.
Oh, dude, she was the best. She was the best.
Also, the Trash Can Full of Dirt Award winner,
We shouldn't.
but my favorite performance. All right, so Bob, you keep saying we should have.
the Cheryl Fenn Award.
Why?
We
Why?
are-
Cheryl Fenn. Hold on.
We are
We should have 2
heterosexual men in
awards.
this room.
We
I
are
guess we just have
exactly.
to
We are
acknowledge this.
heterosexual males in this room. We all have testicles. At least last time I checked.
Not that there's anything
It's
wrong
gonna be
with
so
that.
hard to edit this part. Okay, go ahead.
You don't have to edit this part. I'm not
No.
saying anything derogatory.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying we should have 2 awards. We'll have 2 awards. We'll have the Cheryl Fenn Award for just.
You can't include this.
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. You can include it. I'm not saying
This is
anything
why
wrong.
Bob gets hate mail.
Yeah, send me hate, man. I'm a dude.
I have to include it just to fuel that.
Sorry, I'm a toxic man who likes boobs and beautiful women. I apologize. Hold on. So 2 awards. The Cheryl Fenn Award and then the Shovel to the Face Award for those ones that are not so beautiful.
See, it's not the Cheryl Fenn. It's the shovel to the face that's the
Yes.
hard part.
Okay,
that,
take the
that
shovel.
definitely isn't happening.
Just
Okay.
like
How about the Cheryl Fenn Award? and we just won't mention
We're
the
not
people.
doing any rewards
it's-
for attractiveness. Unless
here's
we
the
do
thing.
one for men.
If you
A man could
I'll
win
do a
your
man one.
attractiveness.
I'll do a man one. We'll do the Tom
I've
Cruise
always had a
award.
crush on Brad
that's
Pitt.
literally what I was gonna. The Tom Cruise award.
I
Yeah.
always wanted
Why
to
not
be
Marky
Brad
Mark?
Pitt.
Marky Mark. What about Vanilla Ice Award? The Vanilla Ice
No,
Award.
that guy from Ninja Assassin. That guy.
Oh,
Perfect.
Rain. Yeah.
The Rain Award
Yeah,
and the Cheryl
9-pack.
Fenn Award.
All right, so here we go. Hold on. Here's what I'll say, Bob. Okay,
Oh,
and that's actually what I was gonna say. I was like, I'm not gonna make a Cheryl Fenn award for the show.
No.
But if you want that to be specifically a Bob thing, that when every time you're on an episode, you give out
That's fine.
the Cheryl Fenn,
I'm gonna give out the
the
Cheryl Fenn
Cheryl Lynn
Award.
Fenn
This
award,
is a great example of compromise.
and
I like that.
But then you are required to give out the Rain award
I'll get out the Rain
for
Award
the hottest dude then
I'll
as
go-
well.
I'll say Gutter Boy's the hottest guy in this movie, and Cheryl Fenn gets her own first award.
Gutter Boy. Charlie Sheen is in this movie. 1986 Charlie Sheen is in this movie.
Okay, fine.
So you have to take it seriously. You can't just say, I'm going to give a hot guy award and just
All right,
give
you
it to
got it.
somebody to
Caught
be
me.
funny.
I was walking to the bathroom on a commercial break and I saw my reflection in this movie and I'm going to give it to myself.
so it's reflected in my, what kind of TV was it?
I was
So-
gonna make a joke because I watched this free in the ads. I was gonna make a joke like, I really like the cameo that Nicole Kidman made in the movie.
Right.
It's all
so-
the
Oh my
same.
gosh.
The Cheryl. This is called the Sherilyn Fenn Award,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Okay, the Sherilyn Fenn Award. And what's the guy award? The
The
Vanilla
Rain,
Rain.
the Rain Award.
The Rain
From
Award.
Ninja
I think
Assassin.
he's just one named dude, right?
That was
Rain
the most
Award.
beautiful man I'd ever seen in my
he
life.
He was beautiful. All right, so Charlie Sheen gets the first ever Rain Award, and
Okay.
Sherilyn Fenn gets her own award.
Well, she has to.
She has
Dudikoff
to.
got his namesake. What's up?
Perfect. I love
That's
it.
awesome.
I love it. And you don't
All
need
right.
to edit this out.
Special circumstance award. when you
the Bob
see
is
it,
here.
yeah, when you see it occasionally, and
And
it's
send
like,
me hate mail. If
when
you got
it's
a problem with
worth-
beautiful people, man or female, you can.
when it's worth noting, we'll break that out.
Yeah. Should not have a problem for people being beautiful.
I don't.
It's
All
not-
right.
Yeah, it's
We
the
shouldn't be
shovel to
afraid
the
to
face
discuss
that's the
it.
problem.
All right. So
I have a shovel to the face. Look at my face. I'm a shovel to the face recipient.
All right.
Sorry.
all right, guys. So we have to decide ultimately: is the Wraith a bad movie? Full stop. Is it a bad movie that
forgot we
rules,
still had to do that.
or is it a straight up good movie? What do you think?
I mean, I'm tipping heavily towards just a good movie because of how much I like it, but there are issues. So legitimately, I will say this is a bad movie that rules, but it rules really hard.
Okay, fair enough. Charles,
It's a bad movie that rules, but rules less hard.
but not willing to say it's just bad. Okay,
No.
Bad movie rules.
bad movie that rules. I'm also going to say that it's a bad movie that rules. Tons of problems and issues
Yes.
with it, especially from a script standpoint. But I had fun. Isn't that the idea, right? I had
It's a
fun
fun
watching
movie.
it. So
Massively
I enjoyed
entertaining.
it.
for sure. And as I sink here in my chair that has been broken for 15 episodes,
Since what? Since what happened?
Since
What'd you do?
Jim Cotta.
You Jim Cotta
So more than
backflips.
20 episodes. I'm
you were
looking. I'm
doing
just keep going
backflips
lower
on
and
your
lower and
chair.
That's
lower.
why we want our own studio.
And so I'm
right?
like, yes,
So
I'm like
James doesn't have to sit on the floor.
at the kids' table now.
You do look
I just
like
keep
you're
having
at
to
the kids'
adjust the
table.
microphone down and down. Oh my gosh! Can you imagine if Arnold Schwarzenegger had been in this movie?
Yes.
God, my.
If Schwarzenegger played Packard,
No, no,
Yes, I thought
well,
Packard.
sure, but even just as the Wraith is kind of like the Terminator.
it is
right. If he had
It
just
is.
come back,
But picture him as Packard because he's the sexiest guy in the movie,
yeah.
and this woman's leaving him for Charlie Sheen, who's about
Yeah.
5'1" and to him.
I can see it. This
How
is
irritating
one of
would
those
you be?
movies where it's bad enough where you could pretty much put him in anything. And
What
you're
would
like,
Arnold
it's not
Schwarzenegger
enough.
say if he saw Charlie Sheen hitting on his girl?
Well, if he saw him, you're mine. You belong to me. Get in the car now. Do it.
Yes.
That's what would happen.
That's what would happen.
What about Billy?
That's what I was just thinking. He should be the
Yeah, Billy.
brother.
Jamie.
Roll.
Get back here with the bike?
And how great would it be that
Yeah.
he's like wimpy against Packard, but he's huge?
Be awesome.
Right. Oh, he's getting his butt kicked.
Yeah, he's
Oh my
Curled up
gosh.
on the ground.
You guys did nothing.
he did nothing.
That's right. All right. So next week, guys, we're talking about a early movie in the career of Christian. Well, not really. I guess Christian Bale was a kid actor at one point, but
Yes.
early in his ascent to being a famous adult actor, a movie called Equilibrium. So we did Jim Cotta before episode 30. Now we're going to talk about some gun kata, which was a made-up martial art that the guy that made this movie created specifically for this. And it's got Sean Bean is in it, and Taye Diggs,
Angus McFadden, and Christian Bale.
With no information on how that movie goes whatsoever, but your description, I'm like, didn't they make 3 of those? And it was John Wick, John Wick 2, John Wick 3.
Soon to be John Wick 4 and 5.
That's when they figured that out. No, that's when they figured it out.
John Wick's Gung Fu.
Gung Fu.
Gung Fu.
Gung Fu. This is Jim Cott.
I know Gung Fu.
Yeah. I know Gung Fu.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to The Wraith. I know a lot of you have been asking for it. Hopefully we did it justice in your eyes. If you have any feedback for the show, or if you have some strong thoughts about Bob's new awards that he wants to give out, please shoot an email out to thisshowIstrash@gmail.com so we can let the world know how you feel about it. In the meantime, we are signing off for Clint Bush, Charles Hewitt, and Bob Hauser. I'm James Hauser.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah. All right. Great episode, guys. Bob, put your clothes on.
I think there are a lot of good lines in that movie.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I think one of my favorites when he goes to see him at the airplane place, and he gives that weird line about "you're killing yourself. Give me a phone. Call me, man. Call me." And he says, Goober or whatever his name. Gutter Boy says, "We ain't got a phone."
We ain't got a phone. That's the 80s.
We just saw Bob struggle to take that off, and it makes you think back to how guys take shirts off and how girls do it. He went to grab the back of it, and there's just these little straps. That's all he had, so he couldn't do it. That's why girls take clothes off like
this. Yeah.
Guys take clothes off like
that's
that.
funny.
God bless them.
Could you hand me my phone? Be awesome. Thank you.
I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. But that's okay.
Yeah, we're just going to do our Patreon content here really quick.